Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad you could be here. Hello, settle down, grab a beverage, get ready to hang out and just obliterate some talking points and some ridiculousness. I mean, we have some great stuff on deck today. We got Bangino, who is looking for TP for his bunghole. And then, of course, Don Jr., who is apparently trying to cameo his way to more blow money. And then just a mix of people like Jim Jordan going out and doing damage control on the Trump Alpha Bank server news that's coming out. Alpha Bank, for those of you who don't know, Russian bank, there was this story in 2016, 2017, and throughout the Mueller investigation about odd connections between an Alpha Bank server and the Trump campaign servers and back and forth. Also, at the same time, connections between them and a health company, like a big HMO. Curiously, and I'm sure this is an accident, run by the DeVos crowd. And it was kind of, they there was nothing in the Mueller report ultimately about it. It turns out Mueller didn't even look into it. And the investigators that were given information to look into it, turns out that they were given information on all the like DNS lookups and all the back and forth, except for the key 4 months that the allegations exist in. So it's kind of like a murder has occurred, and you have a prime suspect, and you are allowed to ask for that person's whereabouts and any alibi they have, but you can only do it on 2 months on either side of the murder itself. Anything inside says completely off. That's off limits. Can't do that. And that's essentially what happened with the Mueller report. Like everywhere you looked. And by the way, hi everybody. Thank you for the hype train right out of the gate. We're already in a level 2 hype train on Twitch. Thank you. Pow. Right out of the gate. And we are, of course, we are at 4,999 followers on Twitch, which is one away from our goal on there. We already hit the 25K on YouTube. Very exciting. We're now at 25,022. Thank you for the extra 22 people who have signed on since yesterday and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that stuff. And we will, obviously there's a lot of the vote stuff happening right now. Hal watched YouTube on you with you, Dennis, the young singing dude. You sound awesome, and was looking at my. Oh, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, I got to sing the high part. It was good. So let's see. Where do we start? Okay. First of all, I don't know. See if I can do this real quick. I'm gonna. This is really fascinating to me because these stories kind of just came up. This is a New York Times story, and I was reading it right as the show happened. And there we go. We'll just toss it to that guy. Here we go. I love that. I love when Macs work like nothing else works. It's great. Here, I'll show it to you right now. This is a new story that just came out about the Alpha Bank stuff, which is, I think, of all the kind of details, like Don Jr. meeting with Russians and Saudis, now it turns out, and others. Not surprising. Obviously, Jared's there. Trump wouldn't be present, but they just basically have him on speakerphone, so everybody has plausible deniability. They know they're never going to, even if they get the phone records, it's not going to show that he was on the whole time or whatever. Like, it's super easy. It's just like wet net spy BS. It's super easy. And in this particular case, the Alpha Bank server thing, I think, was one of the ones that, like, piqued everyone's interest. Like, why is this particular... I mean, we know the Russian governmental system right now is effectively a mafia kleptocracy. It doesn't even remotely resemble a genuine democracy. And by the way, we'll talk about China at some point as well. And, China gets a lot of... They get dragged a lot for basically just copying everybody else's stuff. Like, they don't make anything original. They just steal the plans for somebody's Bluetooth speaker or their 3D printer or their whatever, or their television set. And then they just make them. They reverse engineer them, which just means copy the plans. And then they just make a crap knockoff and blah, blah. And in many ways, where on a commercial level, it's not surprising at all. And you could, I would argue that the DJI drone company has done some great work on their own, but whatever. On a governmental level, they have absolutely cribbed everything that they're doing from pre-1993 USSR. Like, they're just following this kind of playbook piece by piece. And especially when it comes to like soft power and spyware and influence campaigns and honeypots and blah, blah, blah. And so it's not surprising that when this news came up about, Trump's bank, the Alpha Bank server and Trump's campaign kind of having these weird connections, that it kind of reminded everybody of the little weird slush fund bank account in China that Trump had that magically, after he killed the Trans-Pacific Partnership, had $17 million in it. And 15 million of it was taken out in cash the next day, which is probably the most astute, smart decision Trump has ever made as a businessman, because if you don't take it out immediately, it's gone forever. And Chinese bank. I'm just letting you know, just for the record. We'll talk about that more one day. But Trump's server mystery produces fresh conflict. Now, this came up partly because of the Durham report, which it isn't a report. It's an indictment against one person. But it's like 27 pages. And it's basically like his Bill Barr summary of the Mueller report. Just like bullshit. Look at this hand while the other hand's picking your pocket. And if you read it, it's less about Sussman, the guy who's under indictment, and more about, we already knew this would BS. It's absolutely not true. It's basically like Durham's trying to get the Trumpists off his back. And the Sussman, by the way, in my opinion, having looked at the Sussman indictment and looking at what kind of case they're making, there's no there. It will not result in a prosecution. The Trumpers and the maggots will scream and cry that the DOJ is being weaponized like Trump tried. But it's on its merits, it's just absurd. The primary witness that says he didn't tell us he worked for the Clinton campaign or worked with the law firm that was working with the, doesn't say he said that at all. And then the guy that's under indictment goes, that wasn't even brought up. So it's dead in the water. Mike Flynn, they had him on recordings multiple times. This is not even close to that. It's just silly. And because this was contemporaneous notes, I believe. They might have been taken just after the meeting, but either way, it wasn't corroborated by anybody else. It's not going to stand. It just won't. I mean, even if it was true, it's not going to work. It's dead. It's ridiculous. But it gives him an opportunity to kind of like get some of the pressure off of him, and then release this bigger indictment that just blurbs about a bunch of bullshit, including the Alpha Bank server connection to the Trump campaign, which is what Sussman was telling the FBI about when he supposedly didn't disclose who he worked for. Now, let's just say, Sussman has a zillion different defenses he could throw up. The main one is the truth, which is they didn't ask, I didn't say anything close to that. It wasn't a concern. It wasn't an understanding that these details were any less true because of who I worked for. I wasn't working on behalf of my employer. So effectively, this is much closer to a whistleblower moment where a guy working for the law firm that works for, that's doing business for the Hillary Clinton campaign at the time, sees some information and is like, this is fucking criminal, and decides to report it to the FBI. Because and he's not doing it on their behalf. It's just, this is a crime. So it's effectively a whistleblower at his own firm. Like, they were just going to sit on this because it's not going to help the campaign, and they're working, it's up to the campaign what they want to go after, what they don't. But I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to, you can't find me on YouTube. I believe I am on YouTube. I should be on YouTube. And are we not on YouTube today? Is something off? I believe we're here. Yes, we're here. The important thing that you need to know is that this was effectively a hidden issue. It was kind of forgotten. It was like buried. It was one of my favorite kind of details. It's very spy crafty, kind of interesting. Is this the method that they used to have a back channel to Russia to get information, to receive it, that kind of stuff, right? So I was, I think many of us were fascinated by that particular thing, but it basically just evaporated, right? No one chased it down. The idea was that the illusion is that they didn't chase it down because there was no there. We now know that Mueller wasn't allowed to trace anything financial related. And in this, they didn't carry it forward from the FBI investigation for any number of reasons. But it wasn't because it was not a quality tip, right? Yeah, we're on YouTube. We're up and good. Thank you, guys. I just checked. So here we go. The charge was narrow, to say the very least. John H. Durham, the H is for hair face. The special counsel appointed by the Trump administration to scour the Russian investigation indicted a cybersecurity lawyer this month on a single count of lying to the FBI. But Mr. Durham used a 27-page indictment. Let's see. We open that up in the background. Okay. To lay out a far more expansive tale. It's a great way of describing it. One in which 4 computer scientists who were not charged in the case exploited their access to internet data to develop an explosive theory about cyber connections in 2016 between Donald Trump's company and a Kremlin-linked bank, a theory he insinuated they did not really believe. So that's the essence of the extra text in this indictment, right? It's like, this is a way to get stuff into the court record that pretends to sell something. Now, this is an opening argument, an indictment, obviously, but it's not, it's, you're going to lean in with everything you possibly can throw in, I guess, but it's also to kind of pad this narrative that Trump's an innocent victim and all this kind of stuff. That's what, and Durham's basically, he's been getting death threats just like everybody else who doesn't do Trump's bidding by these lunatics, whether they, go through with them or not. But Mr. Durham's version of events set off reverberations beyond the courtroom. Trump supporters seized on the indictment, saying it shows that suspicions about possible covert communications between Russia's Alpha Bank and Mr. Trump's company were a deliberate hoax by supporters of Hillary Clinton and portraying it as evidence that the entire Russia investigation was unwarranted. Trump said so much at the Georgia rally. That's where this came from. Emails obtained by the New York Times and interviews with people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss issues being investigated by federal authorities provided a fuller and more complex account of how a group of cyber experts discovered the odd internet data and developed their hypothesis about what would explain it. At the same time, the defense lawyers for the scientists say it was Mr. Durham's indictment that is misleading. Their clients, they say, believed their hypothesis was a plausible explanation for the odd data they had uncovered, and still do. The Alpha Bank results have been validated and are reproducible. The findings of the researchers were true then and remain true today. Reports that these findings were innocuous or a hoax are simply wrong, said Jody Westby and Mark Rash, lawyers for David Dagan, a Georgia Institute of Technology data scientist and one of the researchers whom the indictment discussed but did not name. All their names have kind of come out since then. They all had, Operative One or whatever, those kind of names on it. Stephen A. Tyrell, of course, the Tyrell Corporation, more human than human is their motto. A lawyer for Rodney Jaffe, no relation to Al Jaffe from Mad Magazine, although I think we all wish we were. An internet entrepreneur and another of the 4 data experts said his client had a duty to share the information with the FBI and that the indictment gratuitously presents an incomplete and misleading picture of his role. So classic Trump is what we're saying. Yes, they averted the government shutdown today. That vote went through. Someone was asking in the chat. Yes. Mr. Durham's indictment provided evidence that 2 participants in the matter, Mr. Jaffe and Michael Sussman, the cybersecurity lawyer accused of falsely saying he had no client when he brought the findings of the researchers to the FBI, interacted with the Clinton campaign as they worked to bring their suspicions to journalists and federal agents. A spokesman for Durham declined to comment, which is what you do with transparency, whatever. The special counsel's office issued a fresh grand jury subpoena to Mr. Sussman's former law firm, Perkins Coie, sometime after Sussman was indicted on September 16th in a development first reported on CNN and confirmed by a person familiar with the matter. It is unclear whether the subpoena pertained to Alpha Bank or whether Mr. Durham has finished his investigation into that case. Here you go. Mr. Durham also found that Mr. Jaffe had met with one of Mr. Sussman's law firm partners, Mark Elias, that's the other guy that Trump mentioned at the rally, who was then the Clinton campaign's general counsels, and researchers from Fusion GPS, an investigative firm Mr. Elias had commissioned to scrutinize Mr. Trump's purported ties to Russia. Fusion GPS drafted a paper on Alpha Bank's ties to the Kremlin that Mr. Sussman also provided to the FBI. And this is, of course, a picture of the data from the Alpha Bank server to the Trump campaign and back and forth, all the connections done in an image that Mike Lindell can understand. because people can't expect to read direct data. So what they do is they take the data and they kind of reshape it into something you can look at and go, I see. Looks sketchy as fuck. In the heat of the presidential race, Democrats. Okay, this is you can read through the article if you want to. The FBI, which had already started its Trump-Russia investigation before it heard about the possible Trump-Alpha connections, quickly dismissed the suspicions, apparently concluding the interactions were probably caused by marketing emails sent by an outside firm using a domain registered to the Trump organization. Here's a problem. The marketing email firm that they are talking about stopped working with the Trump organization in March of 2016, which is before the connections were happening. There are no more marketing emails after March 2016 from that company. That's what this is. That's what the Trump organization uses as an excuse. They stopped using that marketing firm and stopped working with them. Therefore, there would be no internal lookups and back and forth between them on their server at all, and for any particular reason, months before this occurred. This is one of those things where a simple desk calendar often can solve a problem. You know, when you're watching a horror movie and you're like, if these assholes had a cell phone, this movie would be over. If these assholes had a calendar as rudimentary as one would find on the wall of a firehouse, this would be over. The data remains a mystery. A 2018 analysis commissioned by the Senate made public this month detailed technical reasons to doubt the marketing emails were the cause. A Senate report last year accepted the FBI's assessment that it was unlikely to have been a covert communication channel, but also said that it had no good explanation for the unusual activity. Now, why didn't it have any good explanation for the covert activity? Why not? Why not? Well, the reason they have no good explanation is because the explanation that the FBI took as acceptable and passed on it, if you actually own a calendar, doesn't work. Because again, the marketing company that would have been checking in, doing all these DNS lookups for whatever reason, and sending marketing emails to Alpha Bank, stopped working with the Trump organization before this happened. Months before. All right. Whatever caused the odd data, that's a good way to look at it, at issue in the wake of the indictment is whether Mr. Joffe and the three other computer scientists considered their own theory dubious and yet cynically went forward anyways, as Mr. Durham suggests. Which is, I guess, slanderous or libelous. And if the premise is meant to create a future indictment, these guys need a lawyer and they need to push back hard, one would think. Which it seems like they're doing. I mean, that's I think that's part of what's happening. Early articles on Alpha Bank, including in Slate, New Yorker, did not name the researchers and used synonyms like Max and tea leaves. I don't know which one. For two of them, Mr. Durham's indictment did not name them either, but three of their names have appeared along a list of data experts in a lawsuit brought by Alpha Bank. The Russian bank is suing. And among Trump supporters have speculated online about their identities. The Times has confirmed them, and their lawyers provided statements defending their actions. Indictments that originator one is April Lorenzen, chief data scientist of the information services firm Zetalytics. Catherine Zetalytics. Her lawyer, Michael J. Connolly, said she's dedicated her life to critical work of thwarting dangerous cyber attacks on our country, adding any suggestion she engaged in wrongdoing is unequivocally false. Notice the total lack of the word outrageous in this. You notice, guys, that's my favorite word when somebody pushes back against a false claim. These are outrageous claims. Well, yeah, I mean, anybody even articulating some of the shit that Trump did, it's an outrage. It's from a point of outrage. It is outrageous. It would therefore create outrage. Hence outrageous. Doesn't mean it's not true. It's an outrageous situation. Everything about it is outrageous. But when somebody goes, the fact, I'm not even going to answer such an outrageous attack. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Watch for anybody who says outrageous. Just, I mean, yes, the minute somebody defends themselves against in public, against an accusation, and they say it's outrageous, they're just guilty. Just know it. Just own it. Just go, all right, they're guilty. Just, yeah. Just, I mean, honest to God. That's game, set, match. They're guilty. He said outrageous. He did it. He did it. He did it and it's worse. Yeah, dogs know it. I know it. Your wife knows it. Dogs know it. Okay. In addition, this is the fun part. The Alpha Bank suspicions were only half of what the researchers sought to bring to the government's attention, according to several people familiar with the matter. Their other set of concerns centered on data suggesting that a Yodaphone, a Russian-made smartphone rarely seen in the United States, had been used from networks serving the White House, Trump Tower, and Spectrum Health, a Michigan hospital company whose server also interacted with the Trump server. Now, what family rhyming with DeNos might have possibly been related to said health company? Mr. Sussman relayed their Yodaphone findings to the counterintelligence officers at the CIA, officials at the CIA in February 2017. The people said it is not clear whether the government ever investigated them. The involvement in 2017. And the involvement of the researchers traces back to the spring of 2016. DARPA, the Pentagon's research funding agency, wanted to commission data scientists to develop the use of so-called DNS logs. Blah, blah, blah. It's fascinating. Mr. Lundzen eventually noticed an odd pattern. A server called mail1.trumpemail.com appeared to be communicating almost exclusively, like you do with marketing emails. I mean, why would you spam people with marketing emails when you can just hit your biggest buyer? You know? With servers at Alpha Bank and Spectrum Health. She shared her findings with Mr. Dagan, the people said, and they both discussed it with Mr. Jaffe. Half the time, I stop myself and wonder, am I really seeing evidence of espionage on behalf of a presidential candidate? Mr. Dagan wrote in an email to Mr. Jaffe after WikiLeaks made public stolen Democratic emails time to disrupt the party's convention. Mr. Trump urged Russia to hack Mrs. Clinton. I'm not going to read through the whole article. We could get well into that. And this is, by the way, the indictment. In or about October, approximately 1 week before the 2016 presidential election, the multiple media outlets reported the U.S. government authorities had received and were investigating allegations concerning a purported secret channel of communications between the Trump organization owned by Donald Trump and a particular Russian bank. Russian Bank 1. I don't know why it's not listing Alpha Bank like it's not known. We don't want to get them in trouble. Russia Bank 1. Let's see. Alphabetical order. What letter is first? According to these articles published by a major newspaper, U.S. newspaper, Newspaper One. Why don't you just say it? This isn't secret. This is really this is meant to seem serious. This is like baffle with bullshit languaging. Intelligence official possession information concerning what cyber experts said appeared to be a mysterious computer back channel between the Trump organization and Russian Bank 1. Alpha Bank. The article further reported the Federal Bureau of Investigation had spent weeks examining computer data showing an odd stream of activity to a Trump organization server, and the computer logs obtained by them showed two servers had sent more than 2,700 lookup messages to a Trump-connected server beginning in the spring. Tea leaves, blah, blah, blah. Michael Sussman is Sussman's lie was a material, and this is what he's going to do. During the meeting, Sussman lied about the capacity in which he was providing the allegations to the FBI. Specifically, Sussman stated falsely that he was not doing his work on the affirmation allegations for any client, which led the FBI general counsel to understand that Sussman was acting as a good citizen, merely passing along information, not as a paid advocate or political operative. Which, even if he's working for the Clinton campaign directly, this doesn't change that. He wasn't. That's not important. But honest to God, if he goes, yeah, no, we do work for them, but this is fucked up. You guys need to look at this. They didn't send me. They didn't ask me to. I didn't talk it over with them. This is an ongoing crime. It's happening right now. I walk this in here because as an officer of the court, I have a legal obligation. If I know of a crime, I got to report it. And here I am. Right? I mean, the judge thanks the jury for their time. Goodbye. Is it just me or does that name look amazeballs in all caps? Well, it does. Had the FBI uncovered the origins of the relevant data and analysis as alleged below, it might have learned, among other things, that one, compiling and analyzing the Russian bank allegations, Tech Executive One had exploited his access to non-public data at multiple internet companies to conduct the opposition research concerning Trump. Okay, let's just say he broke in to find it. So did WikiLeaks, and yet they would still use information in it. He didn't, but let's just say that he did. This doesn't mean it's fake. 2, in furtherance of these efforts, Tech Executive One had enlisted and was continuing to enlist the assistance of researchers at a U.S.-based university who were receiving and analyzing internet data in connection with a pending federal government cybersecurity research contract. Okay, again, still the information that they're finding is true. There is no allegation of manipulated or falsified data. And 3, Sussman, Tech Executive One, Law Firm One, had coordinated and were continuing to coordinate with representatives and agents of the Clinton campaign with regard to the data and written materials that Sussman gave to the FBI and the media. Again, are any of those 3 elements exculpatory about the evidence? Biden signed the continuation? Yeah, they weren't going to shut down the government. That was all bluster on the Republicans' part. It's stupid. You know, as much as they want to hold a gun to the entire economy, the Republicans know that it would wreck business more than anything else. And the Republicans are counting on a retiree vote. And what happens is they end up not getting their Social Security checks. That was always a stroke. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're always going to play footsie with the idea, but anyway, so this is the full indictment from it. That's the whole thing, though. The idea is that he didn't tell him he worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign. And therefore, fruit of the poison tree or something, you can't trust what he gave us. All of it's verifiable. All the people who had the information and passed it on to him say it's legit, say it's absolutely real and true. But because he said he didn't say at the time he worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign, which he didn't and they didn't. Directly, and he wasn't acting on behalf of them, which he wasn't. And if he was, it still doesn't mean the information's false. I mean, here's the case. Lied to the FBI. Here's a real case. Lied to the FBI, gave them false information, sent them on wasted resources. He Jesse Smolletted the FBI, sent them, down a rabbit hole, wasting taxpayer funds and ignoring other stuff while this went on behalf of the Clinton campaign. There's 27 pages in here. Doesn't allege that shit at all. What it says is that he didn't say he was doing it on behalf of his client when he was, which is an assertion without evidence. Because he wasn't doing it on their behalf, according to him. He never said he was or wasn't, and the FBI agents agreed that he never said he was or wasn't, or that that's where it came from. And then ultimately, it's not exculpatory towards the evidence. And the people behind the evidence, the 4 cyber experts that said, fuck, look at this. They stand by their stuff. They stand by it. So, again, this looks like, Durham trying to get Trump off his back, but ultimately it just seeds the reality that, everybody in Trump world is going to have to deal with the fact that nowhere in here does Durham denigrate the actual findings of the report or the information that Sussman gave. Because he can't. And even the FBI investigation into it where they're like, we didn't find any odd connections, doesn't look at the 4-month period in which it happened. It's alleged to have happened by the people who found it. And then they're saying, well, it was marketing emails. The marketing company stopped working for the Trump organization before. 812 people in the chat. Welcome, everybody, by the way. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, if you're a troll, don't forget to thumbs down and get mad or something. Yell at your laptop. Just don't spit Mountain Dew on it when I say something funny and you're mad because you're laughing. It's terrible. I don't want to ruin your computer. I want you to come back. Maybe you'll learn something. Like you learned today, which is that more of what you watch Trump say at the Georgia rally is setting fire to itself. It is a paper bag full of shit on as someone rang your front door. And you have come out to put that fire out and got shit on your shoe again. Also, should we go back to this? Let's see if I can find this. Was it? Let's see. Trump. The. I gotta find it. It's two counties. That'll probably bring me to it. Where else was it? I'll have to find it again. But Trump lost another one. I posted in my Twitter, so maybe I'll find it in there. But again, Trump has, I guess state officials in one of the states, in a red state that Trump's been crapping on for a while, or Lindell has, or what have you. They went and did a recount just in two of their counties because Mike Lindell was saying that 40,000 recounts and yada yada yada, 40,000 votes were fake, blah blah blah, and ultimately, let's see, and I will find it. I'll find it. It's good. Congratulations to Britney Spears, by the way, for getting out of her whole, financial, moral, psychological prison camp that her dad was running. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Idaho. That's what this is, here you go. Derp. Can you derp more in a photograph? Honest to God. The man is a dad joke in the flesh. I only spit pork and beans on your laptop when I watch this show, Hal. It's dinner time, for Pete's sake. I understand. Well, I thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your dinner table. Yes, thank you for saying that. Idaho derp. Idaho Secretary of State refutes Mike Lindell's statewide election manipulation claim. He didn't just refute it. They went and did a recount of two of the counties at random because he was saying every county had thousands of votes. Staff from the Idaho Secretary of State's office visited two Idaho counties following receipt of information. That's rich. That alleged statewide manipulation of Idaho's election, that alleged statewide manipulation of Idaho's election results. I'm trying to blow this up so you guys can see it a little better. The Office of the Idaho Secretary of State takes free and fair act. Blah, blah. The document in question, dubbed "The Big Lie," and shared publicly by a website bearing the copyright of Mike Lindell. It was on Lindell TV. It got back to them and said that Trump had votes for Trump had been switched electronically and recorded as votes for Biden. Once we had the document in hand, at least he's not calling it information. Was it on flank? We immediately believed there was something amiss. You think? It smelled like pillow. The chief deputy secretary, Chad Hawk. That's a very country name. Chad Hawk is his maiden name. This document alleged electronic manipulation in all 44 counties. At least 7 Idaho counties have no electronic steps in their voting counting process. So it's all paper voting. And this says states. That was a huge red flag. and one we knew we could prove or disprove fairly directly. What? No one hacked the registrar's pencil? Keep using the face emoji things, little creature. Okay, thanks. What? along with members of the IDSOS elections, the Idaho Secretary of State's election team, visited Camas and Butte counties, the 42nd and 43rd smallest counties on the list on September 23rd, not suspecting any issues. These counties were selected due to their small size and ease of recount. Wait for it. Butte County's official canvass showed 1,202 votes for Trump and 188 votes for Biden. The actual ballots, upon manual inspection and hand evaluation in the presence of local representatives from both Republican and Democratic parties, in fact, showed exactly the expected 188 marked votes for Biden, not 130 as alleged, which is what he said. They're switching votes. The only anomaly was that only 1,406 of the 1,415 ballots originally tallied for the county's canvass were counted, resulting in a lower number of 1,193 for Trump compared to the canvassed 1,202. The remaining ballots represented other candidates as well as overvotes, undervotes, and write-in ballots, so Trump lost votes again. In the smallest county in Idaho, fucker lost again. It's like and I have said this, everywhere they go and do a recount or audit the machines, they're gonna find more Biden votes and fewer Trump votes. Every goddamn time. Every time. Every state they go to. Can you imagine if they went to the bigger counties? Right? If they went to the bigger counties and they had a comparable number with a larger population. That's why they went to the smallest one. These are Republicans. They wanted Trump to win. Look at the landslide difference between these votes. And yet among them, creeping about, are these semi-Silicon Valley, blue states, sneaker net, closet Dems living there like they're Russians in the show The Americans. Voting under the table. Not telling everybody they're Biden voters. The great Haldini hath predicted. I'm just saying, goddamn, again. And it's good, and this is these are two counties in the state that don't have electronic voting machines, and still they counted overvotes and what was it? Overvotes, undervotes, and write-in ballots. So somebody voted for Trump and a write-in for Gary Busey or something. Man, I'm tired of being right. And they have to throw that out because you can't vote twice on the same thing. Or that they voted for Biden and somebody went Trump in the write-in thing because they couldn't do the bubble, right? Whatever. It doesn't quite matter. Trump lost 25 more votes that were counted for him that were not his by Republicans in the state of Idaho trying to help their dear leader as best they could. I'm calling it. Every place they go, Trump will lose votes and Biden will gain votes. Every recount, every audit. And again, the only reason I've been against recounts and audits at this point is because it undermines our legitimate democracy, like it's this big anti-democratic bullshit that other countries like Russia and China use to shit on our country, and they will absolutely go nowhere. And the second reason is they are a waste of taxpayer money that are better spent elsewhere. Let me put it in language that the cyber ninjas and the Arizona State Senate can understand. The cost of the audit could have put 5 more police officers on the payroll in Maricopa County permanently. But Maricopa County Republicans and the cyber ninjas and Trumpers and maggots all decided they'd rather have 5 fewer cops or 8 fewer teachers. 10 more like, let's just say their startup pay. 10 fewer teachers so that they could get on this fucking bicycle and ride around in a circle jerk. But according to the 9 ballot difference, a 0.63% margin of error, was likely attributed to the thermal printed ballots that come from assisted voter terminals, which are the same size as the absentee envelopes contained in the same storage boxes. As such, adjusted sorting and storage policies were recommended should a recount occur in the future. I love it. I just love it. I love it. All right, so where do we start? There's so much. Let's start with let's start with the shortest and probably the easiest, the dumbest. Another day of wearing his own merch. Bangino, who's looking for a teepee for his bunghole, says that vaccine mandates, this is it, vaccine mandates, of which there are none, are starting to backfire disastrously. Now, granted, maybe he's not talking about the Biden administration's testing mandate, where you can get the vaccine as an option, or the baseline is you must get tested every week. And the baseline, the absolute bottom rung, is the mandate. Whatever the least you can do, that's what's mandated. The most you can do, there's a lot of options. You want to get vaccinated, wear a mask, and slather yourself in Purell before you come into work. That's on you, brother. That's not mandated, but it's appreciated. But in terms of, mandates, it's a testing mandate. The Biden administration, in all circumstances, is saying a testing mandate. You can either get vaccinated. The one, I suppose, would be the military one, in which case they are mandated to get about, 8 major vaccines, and this one's been added to the list. Because, I don't know, for some odd reason, the Biden administration and military leaders don't want our soldiers dying of a disease that we actually have a readily available vaccine for. So here we go. I want to see, but I know you're wondering, and I'm wondering, how are these vaccine mandates starting to backfire disastrously? It's a disaster. So think of disaster movies: Towering Inferno, Deep Impact, lovely. The Day After Tomorrow, nah, that's good. Battlefield Los Angeles, whatever. Okay.
These vaccine mandates.
Okay, these vaccine mandates. Okay, benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's talking about Fox News, which he's a regular on, which means he's been vaccinated.
They're blowing up spectacularly in their face. But you have to start to ask yourself, are they doing this on purpose?
It's all a big insidious conspiracy. They are doing these mandates on purpose. Or no, the blow up is on purpose. Is that what he's saying? That this is like the Breitbart article. Are they just doing mandates because they know certain people don't like mandates, and then they won't take it, and then they'll die, and that's a way to get rid of Trump voters? They're murdering us by playing on our own stupidity, which is a stunning admission, but sure.
To know that our heroic healthcare workers and police officers who worked throughout the pandemic, they're not getting rich off this, despite the fact that in the early days of the pandemic, they had no idea, ladies and gentlemen, were people going to die? What was the fatality rate of this?
No, but in the early days, like when? October of 2019? Because that's when I started bringing it up. And I'm not in the fucking State Department.
They had no idea, and they went to work anyway because that's who they are.
Yes. Now, and they died in greater numbers than anyone else.
Many of them have natural immunity from infections. They're pushing a vaccine mandate, a blanket mandate on everyone, people in law enforcement, healthcare workers. And the result of it is this. Look at this CBS Boston story.
So was it good? Did you get the good Adderall today? Is that what it is? Doesn't well, okay, here we go.
Massachusetts state troopers are leaving the job. You have to ask yourself.
Who talked them into that? Who convinced them that they should, instead of getting a readily available vaccine that could save their life, they should just die for Trump? We all know there is a percentage of police officers and medical professionals, what have you, and less of those, but military, let's say, the folks that went up and kind of aided with New York and that kind of stuff, who lean Republican. And over that time, that leaning Tower of Pisa is now on its side. And those folks tend to just follow the leader. And their leader told them for a long time that this is your freedom. I would take it, but don't take it. It's your freedom. You have your freedom. It's good that you have your freedom. And we don't know anything about it, even though I created it. And we rushed it, but we didn't really rush it. It was just, we created, where is it? Hold on. I have to bring this up. We created Operation Fart Steed.
Captain's log.
And granted, in retrospect, calling it Operation Fart Steed wasn't helpful.
Captain's log.
And people think it was rushed, which I, brag about pushing the FDA to approve it before it should be approved. And they hate me for that. The scientists who are always concerned about safety, those fuckers.
Again, was this intentional? Dozens of Massachusetts state police troopers resigning over COVID vaccine van.
Yes, resigning over COVID Maxine Waters. Yes, it was on purpose. We're trying to drive those cops out of the police department. Is this like a backdoor police reform thing? Is that what you're saying? Couldn't get the police reform bill through, so you mandate it for cops, and then only the racist ones will also. There's a lot of racism, anti-vax overlap, I'm sure, but.
Mandate union says. You telling me you didn't know? No, I'm asking a serious question to the leftists out.
No, you're not asking a serious question. You telling me you didn't know people would quit? Of course we do. But lives are more important. Yes, we knew there were sections of dozens in certain states, whole dozens, like a baker's dozen, maybe a couple of dozen out of the, let's see. I'm going to have to look this one up. This is going to be rough. Give me a second. How many police officers in America? Let's see. Law enforcement line. Okay, that's a number of. Okay, here you go. There are 697,195 cops in the United States, varying degrees. I think it just says full-time law enforcement officers, 2000 to 2020. Highest number was in 2008. That declined to the lowest number in 2013. And by the way, you would think that this is, according to the storyline about like defund the police happened and everybody's quitting. You would think that we were living in 2011. Look at this drop from 2011 to 2013. 30,000 cops gone in 2 years. But if you listen to everybody else, oh, we're losing cops, Hannaford. This is not. People are quitting everywhere. Like they're just people retiring early. We're losing. We don't have enough staff. Blah blah blah. 697,000 in 2020. 696, 644. Now it ends in 2021. If we see a drop like this in 1 year, call me. But dozens. Dozens. We are concerned about dozens.
Who want to, I don't see nothing, I don't hear nothing, I don't know nothing. This Sergeant Schultz, right?
Yes, they're Nazis. It's a great example. It's but a Hogan's Hero Nazi, so that's not quite the I'm glad you're not going full on like Rafe Fiennes Camp Guard.
Telling me you didn't know? Every one of these unions representing police officers and healthcare workers warned you. You saw protests in the street that they would leave, and you did it anyway. Which asks a very obvious question. Don't be stupid.
Here's the obvious question. Why do you give a shit about the lives of people in these organizations and that they interact with? Why do you give a fuck that a police officer will show up with a contagious disease to a regular traffic stop and give someone a warning after coughing in their fucking face? And then they just, hey man, have a nice day. And they drive off into the next state to cough on their neighbor. I don't know why. I can't imagine. He's having a hard time imagining. This is obviously, we definitely, this is Dan Bongino's spinning beach ball of death face.
Stupid. Don't play dumb. If you knew it and you did it anyway, did you not care?
Well, no, you do care. You just care about the people that could be killed rather than the people who are obstinate for political reasons and bullshittery. That would be the reason. And by the way, most of the healthcare workers you're talking about who've actually had COVID and have natural immunity, the rules still apply to them. Most of them are like, you've already had COVID, you don't have to get the vaccine. You've got natural immunity and expected natural immunity. You might need to get a booster shot if we're worried about Delta passing. There was a concern about Delta. We're in a window of about 12 weeks where people were concerned about it. Nobody's really that concerned about it that way anymore. But it was a general worry. And there is a concern that right now there could be another variant that could pop up that could carry forward. But in general, your natural immunity is going to protect you for the most part. And that's the way it is. So that's a straw man anyways.
You just do it because you gave the double-barreled middle finger, family-friendly version, and said, you know what? If we get a few cops who leave, who really cares? We'll keep the obedient ones behind.
Cops follow orders and follow the law. They are obedient to the oath they took and the law that they exercise. The obedient ones? Yes. I do not want a cop that's against the measles vaccine going to professional day at an elementary school. You human shit stain. What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, think about, we're in how dumb this dumb territory. He's having a real hard time processing this thought. Because there is a big, did you ever see the movie The Dead Zone? I love that movie with Christopher Walken. Let me tell you what God did to me. He threw a truck in my way and put me in a coma for 5 years. I lost my girl. I lost my job. Right. Love that movie. House is on fire. Anyways, it's amazing. But the point is that the future wasn't set in stone. There was a dead zone. There was an area that he couldn't see. That you could change what was going to happen. If you did it, if you go now, you could save them. Go. And basically, he has a dead zone in the, understanding of empathy and normal human interaction part of his brain. I don't know if it was a concussion or he just tourniqueted it for his job a long time ago. But that wouldn't occur to you? That you don't want a cop carrying COVID to a scene where people have been shot, people are wounded, car accident has happened, there's somebody who's in, cops roll up on car accidents. And we talked a little bit about the PTSD aspect of being a police officer or a medical professional or any of that stuff a couple days ago, yesterday morning. It seems like the shows are now days. You want police officers to show up at a car accident where somebody their vital signs are going out. They may have to, lately in like shootings and the rise of shootings over the last year, cops have taken to throwing people in the back of their car, not waiting for an ambulance, and taking them straight to the hospital. That's a regular occurring thing in big cities a lot of times, because waiting for the ambulance to arrive, that person doesn't have that much time. So a lot of cops are dragging people who have been shot into the backseat of their car and just heading to the airport as fast as they could and trying to save them, as best they can. You want an anti-vax cop coughing his bullshit into the open wounds of somebody who's barely hanging on to survive. Every 2 days? There are over 1 billion police interactions in this country every year. Every year in the United States, 1 billion people get pulled over, they get arrested, they get frisked, they get served a warrant, they get, they knock down a door of a trap house or a fucking gun runner. They, 1 billion times a year. There's 17,000 police departments in the country. Over, like I said, we're probably at 695,000 police officers, 1 billion interactions, and this fuckhead cares that 12 cops or 24 cops in an entire state police department are going to quit because they would rather have the right to cough Delta variant into the mouths of the people that they're arresting or the victims they are interviewing. For fuck's sake, do you want to call the cops and explain what happened to you when you were assaulted or you were robbed or carjacked or whatever the fuck, and not know if your doctor, if your police officer is an anti-vaxxer and might be carrying the Delta variant when you can't mask up because you're trapped under a car? I'm not one of those assholes who wears my mask while I'm driving alone in my car. I don't do that. So when the Mack truck hit me, I didn't have time to put it on. And now that I'm under this car, I would rather someone come along and get this car off me and take me to the hospital. Officer, you can write me a ticket later. I swear I wasn't texting. P.S. Don't cough in my mouth. Why do you look like you have a fever of 102? Did I say airport? Did I? Oh, because I was talking about the CPR thing. They take you to the hospital. Beg your pardon. Did I say that? All right. Sorry. Misspoke. To the hospital, right? I think I read something that went by. Somebody literally said the word, and I was like, I'm very susceptible to accidental hypnosis. No. Yes. So cops are, let me see if I, as a matter of fact, hold on one second. People to the hospital. Sorry, shootings. See if this has there was a rapper recently, and I'm not up on my rap because there's a simple reason. I hate it. I just can't stand it. I used to be like on the fence. There's a couple of like novelty-esque kind of songs that I like, mainly like Beastie Boys, but almost for nostalgia reason. But I don't like it. But this one particular rapper said that he'd have died if the cop had waited for the ambulance. Somebody in the chat will know. Honesty is the best airport, right? Satire alert, right. No, it was not Tupac. It was somebody who's alive currently. Let's see. Police are driving. Let's see if I get people to the hospital. ambulance. I'm going to have to make this just a giant search field. There you go. Police one. Let's see. This is it. Where cop cars double as ambulances. This is in 2018, but it's increased as the murder rate went up last year. You know, when Trump was president and the murder rate went up 30%. In Philadelphia, police often race shooting victims to the hospital rather than wait for paramedics. Experts in trauma and policing say more cities should consider it. And they have, by the way. It's Ian Hurst Hermans lay on the ground bleeding from a gunshot wound to his chest. He'd been shot after leaving a house party just after 2 a.m. Within seconds, as he remembers, a police car came racing down the street, down the 108 North Philadelphia street in the wrong direction. 2 cops jumped out and, with the help of his friend, lifted Hurst Hermans into the back. Blood pooled around the 20-year-old on the hard plastic back seat. He was sure he was going to die. Then from the front of the car came a calming voice. One of the officers was asking him questions about his college classes, telling him he was going to make it. Hurst Herman's last memory of the drive was the siren of an ambulance blaring past, and one of the officers saying, "There goes your ride." Had he been shot in another city, Hurst Hermans might have died. The bullet hit a major artery in his chest. He'd lost a lot of blood. A surgeon later told him that he'd made it to the hospital with less than a minute to spare. Among cities with the highest rates of homicide, Philadelphia is the only one where police routinely rush gunshot and stab wound victims to the nearest trauma center instead of waiting for an ambulance. Yeah, that's what it was. Scoop and run. They call them scoop and runs. They have a nickname for it. Lil Wayne, thank you. That's who it was. I think that's right. I think. Deeply entrenched amongst the city's law enforcement officers who focus on their patrol in areas with the highest instances of violent crime, and as a result, frequently beat EMS to crime scenes. The sense has always been, get the person to the hospital quick. It's just something that you do, said John Stafford, a captain and 16-year veteran of the police department. So they do these scoop and runs all the time. Wow, Hal looks good. I just got a new pair of, new pair of contacts and wearing reading glasses. All right. Well, I'm glad I hold up to scrutiny. So Philly cops have started doing, have been doing the scoop and run for a long time. It's gone up. And then let's see if I can find that. Let's see. Lil Wayne. Let's see. Cop that saved his life. Here's the thing. There it is. Lil Wayne offered financial help to the cop that saved his life. He recently spoke about this, I think I want to say at the MTV Awards. I didn't watch them because whatever. Is there an MTV anymore? The 38-year-old rapper recently opened up about trying to kill himself when he was just 12 and praised police officer Robert Hubler, who he refers to as Uncle Bob, for getting him to the hospital and saving his life. Hold on. And Robert has revealed that when they met in 2019, Lil Wayne offered to provide financial support if he ever needed it, telling him all he has to do is say the word. However, Robert told TMZ that he has not taken the rapper up on his generous offer, but they have discussions about him joining Lil Wayne's team in some sort of administrative capacity after he retires, I guess, or after he did retire. Lil Wayne opened up about his mental health issues and the devastating day he used his mother's gun to try and end his life in a recent episode of Uncomfortable Conversations. I picked up the phone. I called the police. Yes, I knew where she put her gun. It was in her bedroom. I went to her bedroom, grabbed the gun. I already made the call, looked in the mirror. I pulled the trigger, shot my chest, aimed for my heart. Didn't feel a thing, though, so I wasn't going through any pain. It was shock. I woke up, the police knocking. That woke me up. It took too long to die. We had wooden floors, and the blood was pouring out of my chest. It was easy for me to slide with my shirt across the floor. I kicked the door so they could hear me. Wayne explained the number of officers stepped over him to get in the house to look for drugs or weapons. But Uncle Bob said, "Do you not see the baby on the ground with the hole in his chest?" He added, he picked me up and kept saying, "You're not going to die on me." And he brought me to the hospital. I met him years later, and he said to me, "I'm just happy to see I saved a life that mattered." This is that Officer Hubler. So what, let's just be abundantly clear, is that what Dan Bongino, who's looking for DP for his bunghole, is looking for, is what he wants is for cops to show up at situations like that and cough a deadly virus into the open chest cavity of injured people who've been stabbed, shot, attempted to harm themselves, who've been in car accidents. That's what Dan Bongino wants. Dan Bongino, cause freedom.
You may say, "Well, Dan, that's just Massachusetts." Well, you'd be wrong. Here's a report out of the San Diego Tribune. Many San Diego Police Department officers say
Define many.
rather quit than comply with the vaccine mandate.
Oh yeah. Well, how about the fact that it's a testing mandate? And did they tell them it's a testing mandate?
So to the liberals out there, again, running many of these places, San Diego,
the big cities that make all the money and pay all the taxes and carry all the red states, the big cities with people in them.
Kind of 50-50, a little more, one of the less partisan places in California, although still a lot.
What, San Diego? Daryl Issa is their congressperson.
Democrats, obviously. You've been warned.
Yes, you've been warned. All the officers from the movie Contagion, everybody who, all the birds that would drop blood into the eye of the guy in 28 Days Later, turning a father into a monster, have all said that they would think about quitting.
Government officers say they're going to leave if you instill this vaccine mandate that's totally unscientific, and yet you do it anyway. Which again,
what do you mean unscientific? What? And by the way, again, it's a testing mandate. I don't know that they have a mandate for the San Diego Police Department. That's a state and city issue, I think. But I don't know what totally unscientific means in this. I think he just says that as cover.
Begs the appropriate question: are you doing it on purpose to get rid of the people you don't think are obedient enough?
Well, no, those people are obedient. I mean, they're just obedient to Trump. They're obedient to Q, I suppose, more than anybody. I mean, are you saying that we have a backdoor policy to purge the QAnons from our police departments? Nope, just trying to keep people from dying.
If it's not a fair question to ask, then you can go pound sand because you don't know the definition of fair. You've been warned, and you're doing it anyway.
Yes, we've been warned that if medical professionals, police, and EMTs, firefighters, first responders interact with people who are having a health crisis, who are sick or injured already, and show up with the Delta variant, they could very well be the thing that kills them. Yes, P.S. he's vaccinated, and mainly so he can still make money as a paid contributor to Fox, I guess.
Going back to the initial question we started the show with.
Where am I? What is this place? Who put these lights here? Why is there a microphone in front of me? Why does anyone expect me to know shit? Is that how you started the show? Please tell me that's the opening to the show.
It's trying to destroy the country? This doesn't seem to be.
Yes, we're trying to destroy the country it's a secret plot. We're trying to destroy the country by not letting the country be destroyed. It's very clever.
Accident anymore.
Yes, he opens the show with the all-important question, "Are you my mother?"
Here's a video by Dr. Marty Makary, a guy who's been on my radio show often. We'll get him back. He's been terrific. Johns Hopkins trained medical doctor, very smart, intelligent guy.
Okay.
Works over at Fox News where I work.
Where there's a vaccine mandate? Where they have no people who have been off the air because of COVID, because they have a vaccine mandate, or at least since. Where no shows have been put on hiatus because they have a vaccine mandate for the whole fucking building.
Very smart guy. He was on Fox yesterday. And again, you
just to prove he was vaccinated? What is he, just flexing at this point?
Ask yourself. It keeps coming up, folks.
You don't even know. All right.
If the vaccine mandate was exclusively designed for public health, despite the warnings that public health might get worse because cops and healthcare workers would quit when you did it, and you did it anyway.
Well, it's a trade-off. They're not all going to quit. Just the assholes. And the assholes are the ones who may, let's just say, as a sign of character, the same thing that would keep them from getting the vaccine would also make them hide their symptoms when they should be staying home while they're sick, and therefore passing the disease to other people who aren't vaccinated, can't get vaccinated, or have health issues, immune issues, that kind of thing. But I know you guys, the Republicans, think of COVID as like a lucky purge. So there is no downside.
The question, sorry, I don't mean, but what's the question you're obviously asking is, well, then clearly it wasn't for public health, and public health was going to get worse, and the left knew it, correct?
Well, public health isn't getting worse. The theory would be public health will get worse if the people providing public health and public services are currently spreading a deadly disease. That's not, you're not even going to factor that. And you're just going to say all these people are going to quit. You're not going to have enough nurses. Oh, we're going to lose the nurses. They're going to cough COVID into their family members' faces or anybody at the fucking store. Like, I also don't wear a mask. I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't even know why in surgery, if I assist as a nurse, I don't wear a mask. Fuck that. I use the dude's open chest wound like a spittoon.
What if I told you, no, the other reason was to incentivize people to get the vaccine? Well, what if I told you that the incentive to get the vaccine backfired and less people now are interested in that? You'd have to ask yourself again for what, the fifth time during the show, what was the real purpose of this vaccine mandate?
To keep people from dying from a easily avoidable disease by making sure that the people they come in contact with that are representatives, especially representatives of the government or the state or the law enforcement, are not going to kill them.
Not for public health and not to get more people to get the vaccine. Here, check this out, Dr. Marty Makary.
Biden getting his COVID booster shot today. He continues to call this the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Does that help his cause, the goal of getting more people who are hesitant to take the jab?
Statistically, yeah.
You know, it's a mischaracterization, and it's inaccurate, and it's scientifically
That's true, because it isn't actually a vaccine mandate. It's a testing mandate. But please continue your lie.
precise. And if we really want to do everything we can to reduce the avoidable harm, that is, the people dying today are adults with no natural immunity and no vaccine. That's where we need to focus our efforts right now. If you look at the blanket and indiscriminate vaccine mandates that came from the White House after they were announced,
there is none. There were none. I would love to look at them, but they don't exist. They are testing mandates. You don't have to do the testing if you get vaccinated, but the test is the mandated part. But that would require you not being a Dumas.
vaccination rates on a daily basis have gone down 20%.
That's because they were rising because all the sensible people were getting them, and now we're getting to the people who are holdouts because they're assholes. Yeah. That's like saying the lifeboats, are full. We got a couple more lifeboats, but apparently the people who think they can just swim it aren't getting in the lifeboats. People climbing into lifeboats since the Titanic has gone down, largely because those people think they'll just wait it out on the iceberg till help comes and they can totally swim to it, or they have already drowned.
We're doing about 810,000 a day, and now we're down to about 650,000 a day. That's because it hardened people.
That's because more and more people have gotten it, and fewer people need it. And the people who haven't gotten it, it's not because they can't get it, it's because they won't. And the won't people are even getting it. Again, this goes about statistics, percentages, and I guess to some degree polling about the vaccines or whatever. But the 800,000 that we were doing day after day when we were getting a bunch of people, those were people who were like, oh, now it's available and it's FDA approved. That was the one thing I was waiting for. I just want to make sure it's clear. And then I'm going. All right. And then that's weighed against the volume of people in the country interested in getting the vaccine. The 650,000 a day is weighed against people who have been vaccine hesitant this whole fucking time. So the fact that there's that many of them getting vaccinated means there's basically a stampede happening.
See the overreach of government, those are the people we want to encourage to get vaccinated, not alienate.
Yeah, but we're not going to stop you sucking your thumb. You're a grown fucking person. The government saying get this or get tested once a week is going to drive me away because fuck you, Joe Biden. You're not my real dad, okay? You can't tell me what to do. Hold on. There has to be some variation where let's see. And there you go. I have to do it this way then. Sorry. Oh, it's not working. Rats! Oh, I went away. Hold on. I'll fix it later. I was going to do baby, but baby isn't working for some reason. It's not showing up. I'll work on it. Beg your pardon. Yeah, so the idea is that this is a psychological problem. That's what they're talking about. What the case that he's making, and look at him. Don't look at me like that. You're the asshole. You're the ones who wants more dead cops and fewer people to, I guess, call the cops because they're afraid if they've got an immunological disorder or a fresh open wound, or they can't crawl, they've been stabbed, so they can't crawl across the living room, put their goddamn mask on, and they're afraid that the local San Diego PD officer that comes to their rescue will cough COVID into their into their neck wound. Don't look at me because you're stupid. You're stupid. You're going to have to learn to deal with it. You're a grown man. But the whole thing that they're arguing is that we need to treat maggots and Trumpsters like toddlers. You have to coddle them. Everything, you need to put their pill in a dog treat, not just in the food. You can't just give them the pill. You have to put it in some peanut butter. You gotta promise them, you gotta slather their broccoli in cheese, or they're not gonna eat it. You gotta put their pill in some comfort food. I mean, this is a grown man arguing that people on his side of the aisle are just gonna die, not because they don't have access to something that will save their lives, but because they're refusing it out of stubbornness because they don't like being told what to do. So they are dying of abstinence. Apparently, abstinence is the number one killer of the viewers of the Dan, what was your name again? Bangino, who's looking for TV for his bunghole.
You know, it's weird when you throw actual numbers out there, how the leftists, again, they start foaming, the foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, I've seen the foaming. No, I haven't seen the foaming. What are you talking about?
At the sky, the pink hats come out, the clawing at the faces, because facts and data always seem to get in the way of their really stupid, dopey arguments every single time.
You can just say fucking. Go ahead. I mean, it's not making your argument any better. They say that people who swear are more honest than people who don't. So, fuck you. But in the meantime, P.S. fuck you. Which is a great movie, by the way. It's one of my best and my favorite. Sorry. I think it was, as porn versions of movies go, right? Anyways, I don't know what he thinks the data and science. Yes, he said pink hats. The data and science he thinks he's presenting here is that told you so. If you tell people they got to get the vaccine, they're not going to get it because they don't like being told. And therefore, and again, remember, we're the snowflakes. Remember that shit? That one melted in the hell of COVID. We're the snowflakes. I don't like needles. Okay. What are pink hats? It's the pussy hats from the Women's March. That's what he's talking about. What did you guys hear any data in that? By the way, can we check? Let's see what he said again. Tell me again what Dr.
And it's inaccurate, and it's scientifically imprecise.
Scientifically imprecise. That's your big hammer. It's imprecise. It might be true, but it's imprecise.
We want to do everything we can to reduce the avoidable harm. That is, the people dying today are adults with no natural immunity and no vaccine. That's where we need.
Right. So what we're trying to do is get them the vaccine so that they don't have to see if they survive to natural immunity. We don't want them rolling the dice on natural immunity when we actually have a vaccine, because they might fucking die.
Focus our efforts right now. If you look at the blanket and indiscriminate vaccine mandates that came from the
which there are none.
After they were announced, vaccination rates on a daily basis have gone down 20%. That is, we were doing about 800.
Well, that's because the mandates showed up, if you want to call them that, which they aren't, at the point which people were, the holdouts were doing more excuses. So that's a matter of the clock or the calendar, not as the correlation or specifically causation of the mandate. The mandate did not make people stomp their feet and go, fuck this. Now that they're telling me to, I'm not going to get one. Bullshit. And I'm guessing this is the science that he's talking about, which is fucking nonsense.
10,000 a day, and now we're down to about 650,000 a day. That's because it hardened people who see the overreach of government. Those are the people we want to encourage to get vaccinated, not aliens.
Yeah, no. That's because that's all that's left. We are now down to assholes. We are now down to the remnants, the dust in the cereal box, the last wag of milk that smells a bit funny. This is not a convincible crowd. If they were, they would have gotten vaccinated in fucking July before they were told to. He is, and I have to say this unequivocally, he is making this up. He is establishing a causation where there is none, and Bongino, because he's a dum-dum, thinks that makes it fact.
Hey. You know, it's weird when you throw actual numbers out there, how the leftists, again, they start foaming, the foaming at the mouth, the screaming at the sky, the pink hats come out, the clawing at the faces, because...
Yeah, that's a great way to describe my show. It's always been my response. You should see my tweets there. Sometimes it's just random letters. I just grab my keyboard and smash my face against it. I still have the means and wherewithal and the thought to hit tweet, but still.
Facts and data always seem to get in the way of their really stupid, dopey arguments every single time. Every time.
What facts and data would that be? Dum-dum. Bongino, you dumb son. This is the same mistake the dude from Sky News Australia made. If you're going to use a clip to cement your argument, it should actually cement your argument. It should not just be more of the same bullshit and confusion that you are spewing. Because, I have never encouraged anyone to not vote, even if they disagree with me, or not get vaccinated. I want full-on righteous indignation, debates between the political sides, trying to come to some semblance of an agreement in a democracy. That matters to me. I would never do to Bongino or Fox News' viewers what Bongino and Fox News are doing to their viewers. Which is, and on the one hand, telling them that it's tyranny to say, please get vaccinated so you don't kill yourself or other people in your family or strangers, God forbid, your fellow Americans. I would never do that. I don't wish COVID on any of these assholes. I don't like that it's thought of as karma or Darwinism. I don't go there. I'm not going to go there. And therefore, I am more supportive of the lives and the political values of people that on a person-to-person level I probably despise than Bongino, who is allegedly one of their thought leaders, does. Bongino doesn't give a fuck if his viewers die of COVID. He doesn't care. It's a shrug. They were probably going to die. Something else doesn't matter. I don't know. That's beyond the fact that he's a moron. That his reading comprehension is legendary in its massive failures. His listening comprehension is depressingly, I think, lower than even the incredibly low reading standard he has. This is moronic on a massive level. Because we all just watched what that Fox doctor said. By the way, we all remember was it Keith Blow? What is his name? Keith Ablow? I always mix them up. The dude who got kicked off Fox because he was drugging and diddling his patients. You know, they have a history of hiring the best people, hashtag the best people. But this is magnificent. This is peak Bongino. This is, I think, hold on. I know it's early. But I'm going to go with
5 eggs.
Yeah, I'm going to get right out of the gate.
5 eggs in a month.
That's right.
5 eggs.
Bongino, there is no way, and I've got Don Jr. in a little bit.
5 eggs in a month.
This is...
Eat 2 eggs a day. 5 eggs.
You won the 5 eggs today by a mile. Because not only are you saying something idiotic, you're angry that other people aren't following you on your idiotic idea. He's upset about this because not enough people are upset about this. Because everybody else goes, the fuck are you upset about? You're a lunatic. This is ridiculous. It's not a mandate for vaccination. It's a mandate for testing. First responders, cops, they have to get all kinds of vaccines anyways. This just added to the list. They have options if they want to. They could desk job it for 6 months till we get through this and try to get their old job back. They can just sit it out. Better that than coughing the Delta variant into an innocent person's face who's already physically on their heels, health-wise.
Vaccination rates have gone down. Healthcare work.
Yeah, because there's fewer people that need to be vaccinated at this point, and the people who are finally getting vaccinated don't want to get vaccinated. There was a huge spike during the sensible wave.
Police officers, frontline workers, first responders have warned you that the mandates are going to backfire and they're going to leave. So clearly this had nothing to do with public health or getting more people vaccines. So ask yourself again, don't be constrained by the box the leftist media a-holes put you in.
You tell me what the fuck he's talking about. I don't know what the box is. The box seems to be... What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What is it? What's in the box? Oh, left-wing media a-holes, I suppose.
You have to ask yourself candidly, if the purpose wasn't public health, then what was the purpose?
It is public health. The purpose is public health. So that those people who refuse to get vaccinated don't spread the disease because they won't get or get tested, I suppose, if they're going to quit. That's why. Yeah, somebody broke into my shed. I think it's the kids next door, but I want to check it out because I got a couple things in there. I'm worried that, they get it. They might, some kerosene, stuff like that. I just don't think it's a good idea. Cool. We'll take your statement. There's been a couple things in the neighborhood we'll look at. And you don't mind if I give you COVID and you die simply because I came here to figure out who broke into your shed, right? Take your statement. The fuck?
Soften you up. Get ready for the big government coming down the road. Soften you up with mandate body blows. Get rid of those non-obedient types.
Well, the non-obedient types would be, oh, you mean like the Confederates, for example. They weren't very obedient. Oh, and I know some other people who weren't obedient. Let's talk about some folks who weren't obedient. The Manson family, not known for their obedience to greater society anyways, but Timothy McVeigh, not the most obedient guy. Ted Kaczynski. Ted Bundy, he was pretty, as obedience goes, a true scofflaw, I'm going to go out on a limb and say.
Nothing more patriotic than asking questions.
You're not asking questions. You're just, I guess, putting your idiocy on display. Because you're not actually, well, and for real, for the record, he's not asking a question. He's asking a rhetorical question, providing the answer. And the answer is Occam's rubber mallet. Squeezy, squeaky toy. It's the most absurd. Yeah, yes, there's a great government plot to purge certain cops or all cops and nurses and EMTs and firefighters from all these organizations, which would be, according to him, most, if not all of them, with a vaccine mandate. So what? So every house in the country burns down, every crime goes solved, every patient just beep, beep. No nurse comes to even to shut off the noise. You know what I mean? At least you have a nurse on duty. No, we lost another one. No one there to prone you, ultimately. That's the big fucking plan. This is like the paint huffing version of Jade Helm. It's think Agenda 21 meets a massive concussion.
You'd ask him here.
I like. Oh, God. Fucking dumb. Dan, you're amazingly dumb. Do you ever go back and watch these segments? Do you ever go, oh, yeah, I guess I wasn't really listening to what the guy said. And I guess he wasn't really saying anything that goes anywhere near supporting my argument. And I was making a political argument on behalf of people that could result in random dead people for no fucking reason. The obedient ones. Piss off with your neo-Confederate horseshit. Thank God we're very lucky that Dan Bongino is as dumb as he is. Then I guess, because these ideas would reach more people. But then, of course, if he was any smarter at all, like if he wasn't looking up to see stupid, then these ideas wouldn't even be able to germinate in his brain. They'd be dismissed as, fuck, I think I stood up too quickly. All right, this is short, but it promises to be hilarious, I think. This is and thanks CSL for this. I don't know what this is. This is like a Christmas gift. This is the red phone rings. President Donald J. Trump on Flashpoint tonight. So he's calling into places. This is like, remember how we said like Flashpoint is the fucking bottom? Like you go Newsmax, OAN, and then you're like, Flashpoint. I have been falling for 30 minutes. Apparently he's calling in, and did they get a physical red phone? What's 1 John 5:4? What's okay, now I got to look this one up. I don't know that one from memory. Hold on. John 5:4. For everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. For everyone born of God. I guess they mean, it depends, baptized is what they usually mean by that, but overcomes, this is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. It's a little, that's not in your John 3:16 category of barn burners as far as Bible verses go. They just like the word victories in there. I like the fact that they have a bullseye on the fucking Bible in the on the emblem though. That's not creepy or anything. Right? I know the idea is that you want to focus on the Bible, but you don't want to launch a torpedo at it, one would think. Maybe they're just telling us something they don't want to tell us. All right, let's see. I don't know if he calls in this or if this is just an ad for it. We'll see. It's very short. Oh, I can skip this ad in 3 seconds. Close ad. Okay, here we go. Oh, fuck off. They're not picking up. I don't know. I mean, the order made it there. They said that they got their order, but I don't know that that's the case at all. Oh, they're not home. I got a message. It says they'll be home tonight at 8. Shit. You know what? I'm gonna call back. Hold on. Let me see if I can. 666 devil. How do you spell DE 33VIL? There you go. So that's I don't know why that's the number for Flashpoint, but it is. Let's see. I don't know if we'll see if they pick up. Still ringing. Fucking landlines. Am I right? So embarrassing. All right, 15 seconds of bullshit. Look at this. Oh my God. Please tell me we're on, like, he's going to be on at the same time. And, okay. I'm going to check on that while we jump into our next one. And they say how the presidency ages everyone. Apparently it has aged Don Jr. worse than his dad. I mean, in fairness to Don Jr., his dad always looked like shit. So, what are you going to do? And look at this weird little screen. And there's a picture of him and Kimberly. And there's a cube, like a picture cube. And there's his dad. And there's, I don't know, playing cards, some sort of giant prescription bottle. This is the award. There's a little award on the shelf. World's tightest ass. I don't know why. It's a very small one. It's the only award you have to prove you deserve by smuggling it out of the room. And then these are pictures from trips, and this is of course their plan for world domination. And then there's just a bunch of fucking cords he couldn't be bothered to clean up. Billionaires, am I right? Billionaires, don't billionaires have staff to fucking look? We can't all live like people in the Pottery Barn catalog. You know that, right? Because there are no people in the Pottery Barn catalog. We can't all live like Steve Martin in No Murders in the Building. At best, most of us can just hope for Martin Short's apartment. If you've been watching that, his looks lived in. Steve's looks like an ad that, like, they're always trying to sell the apartment out from under him. Bruce Wayne has staff, exactly. Right? Yeah, real billionaires do. Touché. Uh-oh, they're on to me. Guys, you think there's a guy at the end of that finger? Pull my finger for the truth. This is stupid. Ew!
Want to know how to get rid of your toe fungus for good? Then you must see this. A top medical doctor shows a 53-year-old woman who suffered from toenail fungus for over 12 years his all-natural way to regrow healthy nails and reclaim
it's still on, I'm not looking.
In record time.
Oh, get out of here.
American
Skip
Nobel
ad.
Prize
Okay, here we go.
Okay, guys.
Okay, guys.
Haven't posted much in the last...
Guys, I haven't posted much in the last few because I've had basically enough blow to get me through for a couple of weeks. But I just got new orders from the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers. I posted it just to the side of my monitor or wherever his phone is mounted so I can read this shit as if it's an original thought.
2 weeks or so, because candidly what's going on is pretty depressing. As an American...
Uh-oh. Candidly, what's going on is pretty depressing. Don't threaten me with a good time.
And as a patriot, watching our country go to hell in a handbasket because of Democrat stupidity is amazing. But it is, every once in a while, nice to see someone like Josh Hawley, senator, go after clowns like General Milley and Defense Secretary Austin and call them out to their faces that they should resign.
Yeah, why? Well, I mean, what do you think? They invented political posturing against the military? I mean, we looked at Gates' statement. I'm sure you'll show us something from Hawley's statement. Who gives a shit? You can't make him resign. There's no reason for him to resign. Is posturing assholes are nothing new to the Beltway.
Listen to what Josh has to say, and I'll be back with some commentary because...
Well, I don't doubt it. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to even be able to interpret what Josh Hawley has to say without your help.
There's a lot to be said about it.
I just want to say this.
Just want to say this. When I gave the fist up to the rioters before they trampled one of their own to death and built a gallows on the Capitol grounds and stormed through the halls, threatening to shoot Nancy Pelosi, AOC, and hang Mike Pence.
Seems to me that you put a high priority on making sure that you were favorably portrayed by the DC press corps. You spent a lot of time doing that. Fair enough if that's your priority, but at the same time...
Well, it presents facts, not in evidence, and what they're going by is the book Peril, which their staff read for them, picked pieces out. And the opening, by the way, I showed you guys, I read Peril all the way through. The first chapter, it's like flash forward in the book. It goes to the January 6th stuff, and then it kind of backdates to the election process and goes through it. And like the first 30 pages or something, when they released copies, everybody just started talking immediately about the first 10 pages or something. If you read the rest of it, it's abundantly clear that it is boringly normal. Even in its, in him, pushing sort of the patriotic image of what he was trying to do or his belief systems. I don't know the man, so I can't tell you which is which. But I've read a lot of political books about the Carter administration, the Reagan administration, the Nixon, Kennedy, those times. It all sounds like the same shit. It's like Woodward writes books with like refrigerator poetry from All the President's Men.
We had a rapidly deteriorating, frankly, disastrous situation in Afghanistan, which resulted in...
Yeah, it was rapidly deteriorating for years.
Death of 13 soldiers, including one from my home state. It's hundreds of civilians and hundreds of Americans left behind. And in my view, that mission can't be called a success in any way, shape, or form, logistical or otherwise.
Well, 124,000 people out in a couple of weeks, and all while being hamstrung by the Trump administration, who gutted the SIV program, so it all had to be rushed in 3 months, lest our soldiers start getting fired upon, which were our priority, obviously, by the Taliban, because that was the deal that Trump made.
You should resign. Secretary Austin, I think you should resign. I think this...
I think pointing and saying you should resign is really the only way I can get on the cover of the St. Louis Gazette or Herald or whatever the fuck they have. I got to make political gestures because I know I'm being photographed. How's the hair? Tight?
Was a catastrophe. I think there's no other way to say it, and there has to be accountability. I respectfully submit it should begin with you.
Well, Josh Hawley is right.
That was it? That's the thing? That's the slam? Guys, Josh Hawley is right. He's right. This... hold on. I need to go back to his... I was surprised. I thought there would be more.
Submit it should begin with you.
Well, Josh Hawley is right. I mean, he's actually...
Dude, you had to read Josh Hawley is right off your paper? Look at that shit. Watch when he comes back in. He's looking down. He's reading. What do I think about this spontaneously?
Hawley is right.
See that? Look at that shit. Look at him watch. What the... How do you... All right. So I play a clip. Whatever the fuck it is. And let's say I go away and come back instead of being present on the screen. Do you think I'm going to, like... And the crux of what I'm going to say. Do you think I'm going to need to check? Where the fuck... Why are you not looking at the camera? That's all this is. It's a vlog. The fuck else is going on? Nothing. This is, I mean, we see this all the time with him. It's a regular thing. Josh Hawley's hair looks like it's fiberglass. Simmer. I don't know. But watch how he's just reading what is supposed to be his, his immediate reaction.
Submit it should begin with you.
Well, Josh Hawley is right. I mean, he's actually speaking truth to power, right? We hear about that a lot.
Speaking truth to power, motherfucker. He is the power. He's in the Senate. What are you talking about, speaking truth to power? He's not calling on the Biden administration to fire him. That's not what he did. He didn't go over there, knock on the White House door. I demand to see the president and he should fire Milley. That would be sort of speaking truth to power. He's got oversight. He is the power in that situation. He's on the fucking committee. Yeah, it's just grandstanding bullshit.
Truth to power, right? We hear about that a lot. But a general who has time to speak to numerous authors on background, off the record, so they can massage the narrative but not actually explicitly be called out, so that they can...
most of the time you're not going to be explicitly called out, I don't think.
Off the record, so they can massage the narrative but not actually explicitly be called out, so that they can position themselves favorably.
I've never been afraid to call someone out explicitly, but...
And so they can get a better board seat later on, when they retire. That's why we...
Or resign. Why don't you resign and get a better board seat? What the fuck are you talking about?
These never-ending wars to begin with.
Dude wants to be a career military guy. Basically wants to die in the uniform and serve forever. Yeah, he's looking for that next gig. So why won't he resign and go to that next gig?
These guys could get on a board.
Dude, and why is Don Jr. constantly haunted by two little bunnies? The ghost of the little bunnies hop around my head. They say what I'm saying isn't what I'm really saying, but I say it anyway. Hey, bunnies, my little bunnies, follow me around. They live in a hole under the ground, and they only come out when I don't understand what's going on. Little bunny, fuck you. Little bunny, fuck you.
Themselves favorably again so they can get a better board seat later on, when they retire. That's why we've been in these never-ending wars to begin with. So that
dude, it fucking ended. You can't call it a never-ending war. I'll tell you why. Look, it never ended when your dad was in charge. You fucking tool. Trump could have ended it. He could have ended. He ran on ending these never-ending wars, right? And he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. He could not do it. Biden ended it. We're not in Afghanistan anymore. You can, and this, it's like the Raytheon argument you keep hearing from fucking the Turks and all those folks. Well, Biden got us the fuck out. Those people, the military-industrial complex wants us to stay in Afghanistan. Well, we're not. So give the dude fucking credit. Give Biden credit for getting us the fuck out. And this asshole's still calling it a never-ending war. We're not there anymore.
You guys could get on a
oh my God, the little bunnies. Little bunny, fuck you.
Raytheon, exert power, make...
Look at this. You had to look down to make sure it was Raytheon. I didn't want to say Rayon again. It's embarrassing. It's, everybody, the military, industrial, companies, get them board things like rayon and other alternatives to cotton.
Okay? Our generals are not the best war fighters, and they never were. They are...
Yes, welcome to the CCP talking points portion of every Don Jr. video.
Best bureaucrats. So it's awesome to see Josh.
Look at him reading. It's awesome. He has to read. It's awesome to see Josh Hawley. Look at this shit. Look at that. It's written. Whatever he's reading is right down here. And again, this is a 4-minute and 21-second video. He's looked at his notes. What? And by the way, this wasn't a live. Right? This wasn't something he couldn't edit later. This was put together. He did this. He could have done a couple of takes, used the best one. Maybe he did. Maybe this is just the shit you get. But
call them out, right? The same general that could not have seen
little bunny fuck you. Little bunny fuck you.
It's coming.
Dude, does he get paid by the air quotes? Is that how this works? Did he air quote 17 times as a wink and a nod to the cues?
Had no idea that the Taliban could possibly take over in 11 days.
Bunny rabbit, seal hands, bunny rabbits. Fucking, what kind of, toddler hypnosis book has he been reading?
Has plenty of time to speak to guys like Bob Woodward. Okay.
Your dad spoke to Bob Woodward. You know what he did? While the pandemic was going on, you know what he told him? He always downplays it, even though he knows it's deadly. And he also knew it was way more deadly than the flu, even though he was lying in public. Your dad had plenty of fucking time while he was president of the United States to talk to Bob Woodward. And by the way, anyone who would throw a mic and a pen in front of him
to position himself.
This is good. This is good still. This is solid.
Really favorably for the future. He can be written about. There's plenty of time to that and other authors. Plenty of time to want to learn about.
Grown man. Shit. He's going for the record. I don't know if we're going to make it tonight. I think the current record holder is a 15-year-old girl who was having an argument with her parents. I think it was in Muncie, Indiana. It may have been a suburb of Colorado. We'll have to check. I'll call my people from Guinness, get them on the phone. But tonight, live, we are getting to see the world record. Maybe crushed today. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Jr. going for the world record in the number of air quotes in one shit vlog.
White rage, and probably teach critical race theory.
Yeah, this has been a talking point since fucking June.
In the military, right? They had plenty of time for that. What they didn't have time for is what's actually going on in the ground in Afghanistan. Remember?
Well, sorry. Remember what? I remember that your dad ran on getting us out of Afghanistan and couldn't. Didn't. I mean, obviously could have, but he couldn't. He would have, but he didn't. He had a great plan. He never used it, so it can remain a dream of the perfect plan forever. Nothing fucks up the fantasy of the perfect plan like actually seeing it and watching it implemented in reality. Because there's all those strange little things that happen in life that foobar the whole. I mean, it was perfect. It was a perfect plan. Can't we just leave it perfect? Let it remain perfect forever. Like when you open a jar of peanut butter and you take it out. Yeah, is that peanut butter full of delicious creaminess and also protein and perhaps if it's the kind I like, crunchy style? Sure. But look how smooth the top of it is. Do you really want to take that knife and plunge it in there and ruin the whole thing? You kind of do. You want to be the first person to do it. Nobody wants to be second.
Our toddlers probably could have seen this coming. Pretty much anyone who's read the news probably could have seen this coming. Certainly.
See what coming? That we're getting out?
A soldier on the ground could have seen this coming. And yet, General Milley, Secretary of Defense...
Sorry, what the soldiers on the ground saw was that the generals over them and the commanders were painting a rosier picture than reality for years. Our toddlers. He means him and Kimberly's, I guess, or his family's, whatever. Yeah.
They probably couldn't have seen this coming. It's hard to believe. They have no intention of resigning. So they had plenty of time to speak to partisan hacks to make themselves look good.
Go back to your notes. Go back to the whole they had time to talk to.
Sure, there are future board seats.
I may have jumped the gun on 5 eggs. It's entirely possible. We don't give it out twice in a day. It makes it less special.
What they didn't have time for is to figure out what's going on in the ground. So he speaks to plenty of authors. But now, guys,
look at dude, why do you have to read that part? Again, why do you need notes for a video like this at all? But also, why? I mean, I understand, like, what was the number of, troops that we had specifically there, the number of people left behind, what's the actual number, how many people have we gotten out? It's like 85 people left. They're all in the process of getting out. The Taliban's making arrangements for commercial flights to go in and out of Kabul, and the safety of those particular people is the defining factor of that, so of course it's going to happen. But like those kind of numbers, you might go, how many people in the embassy? We had 5,000 people or 4,000 people. What was it? You might want to look at that, check. When you're doing a video like this. That's fine. Nobody's going to fault you for that. But these are supposed to be his general ideas on this.
To pretend that there's not blood on their hands, that these guys should continue, that people in our military have the utmost faith in these leaders. Again, best bureaucrats, not the best warfighters. They had no idea.
We weren't at war, fucko. We weren't at war in Afghanistan. We were not. We haven't been at war in Afghanistan. We've been supporting the Afghan military who was at war, in a civil war that they apparently were only fighting because they were being paid to fight. Your dad said as much. Everybody thought so. It was a general thought. But, Biden was making that argument during the Obama administration. Nobody listened to him. Robert Gates said he's been wrong about this all along. Turns out he's been right about this all along. Trump's like, I knew it would fall apart as soon as we left. And those guys are only fighting because they're paid. And we pay them all the time. And we pay them more money than anybody who gets paid ever in the history of being paid. Oh.
Yeah, it was a total catastrophe. And they spent 20 years where they could have learned it, but they didn't.
Sorry, 20 years, 4 of which your fucking father was president, ran on getting out, and didn't. Why didn't your dad learn that in 4 years? Apparently your dad said he knew immediately that Ghani couldn't be trusted and the government was shit. So why didn't he act on it immediately? If it was always going to be that way, and that you ran on leaving, then fucking leave.
Because their eyes were off the ball. They were too busy trying to massage the press to make themselves look good, to position themselves for the future so that they can make money, because that's all this is, guys.
That's all it is. He's a career military guy. He's not leaving. Remember, the clip you showed was of the guy asking him to leave the military and go elsewhere, and he's not going to.
Big scam. If we actually had the best warfighters in there, we wouldn't have these problems, but we don't.
Well, your dad had 4 years to put the best warfighters in a position to fight the war that was the best war ever, right? Why didn't he? Why not? Why? 4 fucking years. He ran on getting out of Afghanistan. Why didn't he do it? Where are the best people? Milley was appointed by Trump. Seriously, where? At what point did something change between now and last year?
Generals that trade gossip.
Still fucking reading.
With Bob Woodward while Afghanistan burns. And they...
Dude, your dad was talking to Bob Woodward while a deadly virus was spreading through the nation that would kill 500,000 Americans, plus 580,000 up till November 3rd, whatever the number was. And then on through the rest of his presidency into January. Your dad talked to Bob Woodward while that was going on. Maybe if he hadn't been talking to Bob Woodward in January and February of 2020, he would have seen this coming, COVID, and would have taken more of a smarter approach to it, and perhaps he could have implemented his perfect plan.
Design. Josh Hawley absolutely nailed it with that quote, and he's 100% right. Now, that will never happen. There will be no accountability.
Yeah. You don't have to tell us. Josh Hawley, from a political standpoint, is a fart in a hurricane. I mean, if you're right next to it, it's a little irritating for a couple of seconds. But in the grand scheme of things, you can let it slide.
Because the media will protect them, because they'll get leaks and they'll get the inside scoop, and they'll, of course, protect Joe Biden while doing the opposite for the prior administration. We understand how.
Protect him from what? Oh, you mean protect Joe Biden's Afghanistan exit? But they're not going to protect your dad's Afghanistan exit? Oh, it's because there wasn't one. Right.
Works. But enough is enough, and we need more guys to step up, to speak out, and to fight back, or this stuff will destroy our country, and we're going to watch it go to hell in a handbasket.
Well, I'm glad they're putting
it. Guys.
I'm glad they're putting it in a handbasket, at least. I mean, well, I think I don't know that next time we do a video like this, I'm going to have to get a counter on screen that allows me to count how many air quotes he does. Just whatever the record ends up being from this, guys. And I guess going the concept of going to hell in a handbasket, it's a gentle ride. I will give him that. I mean, you could argue that Trump was trying to make America go to hell in a Handmaid's Tale, but At this point, we see the Don Jr. videos come up, and it's clear that he either is assigned these things, he's told he needs to get out and do these things as part of the campaign or something, or he gets paid by the super PAC for the videos themselves, which is probably more than likely what's happening. That part of his, his fun money is coming from being paid by the Trump Save America super PAC, and he only gets paid if he does these videos. And they tell him what to say. They give him an assigned statement. It's like a sponsorship, essentially. These are little sponsor spots. These are effectively ads crafted by the super PAC and the people who work with the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers that work with it. I mean, the only original thoughts are, I think air quotes will help. This is kind of extraordinarily weak stuff. We're seeing, you seem to be on a fade, Don. All right, now let's, I don't have that much time left. I'm a little over on this one. Where do we go from here? There's so much stuff. Let's see, we got that thing. And, Josh Hawley just destroyed. Okay, so, folks, if you're looking for panic, the earth-shattering, full diaper, useless in an emergency kind of panic, Glenn Beck is your guy. Glenn Beck is an amazing juggler. He can juggle the world's shittiest take, a complete misunderstanding of the circumstances, and a huge ball of it's all going to be over panic in the same. It's amazing. He can keep all three of those balls in the air while having none himself. And in this one, he's still doing day 31 since stranded in Afghanistan. He wasn't stranded in Afghanistan. People are getting out of Afghanistan. The State Department's working with private industry and NGOs and veterans groups and whatever to get people out. They're doing it largely covertly for the safety of the people involved. I know Glenn Beck wants them to announce where the people are, how many people there are, where they live, what road they're taking, what airport they're leaving from, the how many bags they have, what their outfit looks like. He basically wants to give the Taliban and ISIS as much information as you would give to a chauffeur picking someone up at the airport. And this is a federal judge's decision provides terrifying message for us all. It's terrifying. This is terrifying. Guys, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'm terrified of that shirt. Again, and I don't know what point we got to, we've gone through, last week it was all Cowboy Glenn. Now it's his Mexicali tourist shirt while he was at the spa in Lake Tahoe or some shit. And then, of course, the only guy with I guess technically, obviously my hair isn't as dark as this, but look, we both have mics that match our hair. It's a brilliant plan. Okay, sorry, hold on. I got to skip over to this one. Here we go.
Going on in America right now.
There's something going on. Something's going on. Is something going on? Is anything going on right now in America? Are we even in America?
And it is the same kind of revolution that happened in Venezuela.
Oh, a Venezuelan revolution is happening on.
And the people like us, we don't believe our lives can change that much because we...
well, not without, taking a serious look at your diet, for one, and your fashion. You keep making the same mistakes, you're going to get the same results. I'm just saying. I wouldn't start heavy. I would, obviously you're going to want to get your testosterone up. You're going to obviously have to do some heavy lifting, but don't just race right in and try it. You don't want to discourage yourself from further work by overdoing it those first few days. It's not a good idea.
Never witnessed it. We've had tough times, but we've never witnessed any kind of dictatorship.
And you still haven't?
We all go about our day thinking that it's always going to be somewhat like this. We can't truly. The biggest problem with America is
that's the title of his next book. He dressed as a Nazi on one of his other books. I think he'll have to dress as we think Mao, or maybe a Turk with like an Armenian head on a spear, something classy, classic. Glenn Beck.
Lack of imagination. We cannot imagine life being much different than it is right now in America.
Well, sure we can. I mean, by 2040, we're going to look at like 50% of the cars on the road will be electric. We'll have a base on the moon, hopefully by then, that will begin to be used as a launch point to go to Mars. It'll probably be, in general, hi, my love. Let's see, what else can we picture in the future? Commercial space travel available to the average citizen. I mean, obviously it'll be expensive still, but still a chance, We'll have a lot of self-driving cars initially. What else? Let's just think for a moment. We can imagine things quite different from there. Once we cure cancer, and there's a very strong chance that the mRNA vaccines that have been so helpful with COVID may ultimately work to the point where we can have an overall singular coronavirus. Hi, Murph. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? You just coming in to whine a little? Hi. Come here.
What do you have to say?
Oh, no. It sounds terrible. I don't know what's happening. Oh, no. Well, come here. Yeah. Here. Murphy wants to say hi, everybody. Hi, buddy. Oh, I know. You're such a big boy. I know. You're a grumpy boy, but you're a good boy. You want to say hi to everybody? You have something to say? Huh? You do? Hold on. Just simmer. You gonna be okay?
Oh, Chip has something to say,
Oh,
though.
Chip. Uh-oh. Chip's coming in. Murphy doesn't like Chip right now. You're okay, buddy. I'll hold you up here. What do you think? Do you want to climb around up here? Here, okay. Hop down. Oh, hold on. He's like, that kitten came in here. I don't like him.
You're just
Here,
following him around.
Chip, come here. Everybody wants to see Chip now. We're just gonna hand cats in. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Yeah,
He's
you're
trying to be friends with Murphy.
besides purring. What are you doing? Oh, he's gonna. Hello, hi, buddy. Are you doing okay? Yeah. Look at the fan. Look at the stuff. Look at the thing. Where do I want to go? Murphy's going up the steps. He's like, I'm gonna go after Murphy. I'm supposed to chase him around. Wait for me.
Sweet.
Hi. There you are. Hi. What's going on, buddy? Here you go.
Good cat.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
See him.
Oh,
he's going to the bathroom. Leave him alone.
Yeah, don't upset him while he's pooping. It's hard enough. You get him all constipated, and then we'll have. I mean, we thought Murphy was upset already. Jeez, imagine him backed up. Ford announced recently the goal is to have their entire fleet electric by 2040. Exactly. I can imagine an extraordinarily different America in the material sense going forward as innovation, creativity, and industry improves people's lives continually. Automation will be a double-edged sword, obviously. Chip's a Foster, Murphy's permanent, unless he tells us different. By the way, I can imagine non-lithium based battery systems, solar systems, an explosion of geothermal energy, for example, and the ability to live almost entirely off the grid once the reach of broadband once we get to what would effectively be, 7G? Some shit like that. Right? Thorium salt reactors. Absolutely. Also, obviously, AR and VR are going to have a very big impact. I know, buddy. What happened? Hi, Chip. You just lonely in the middle of the room? What are you doing? Hi. He's just sitting in the floor meowing to no one. He's just like, where am I? What is happening? There he goes. Okay, he's going up the steps. He's fine. QAnon will become Morlocks. Yeah, there's a lot. Transporters? Sure. Am I a gambling man? No. And by the way, you ever hear Rob Reiner when he was making Misery talk about how the movie Psycho ends in the first 10 minutes because Janet Leigh's character rolls up at the Bates Motel and she's on the run. She's got money in the trunk and she's like gonna meet her lover in Victorville or whatever the town is, and then they're gonna go over the border and be safe. And she got $50,000 in the trunk, and she knows the cops are onto her. She knows they're looking for her. And she's tired though, so she pulls over and she asks, "How far is it to this town?" Because that's where she's going to meet her lover and go across. And they say 25 miles. And she decides to get a room, take a shower, and then she gets murdered, and her car gets thrown in the swamp with the money in the back. Spoiler alert. And Rob Reiner's point was the movie ended right there for me because no one would do that. Everybody in that situation, if you're running from the cops, you got 50 grand in the trunk, you're going to meet your lover, and they go 25 miles is 40. Yeah, thank you. You'd go, all right, cool. Can I get a cup of coffee? I'm going to hit the road. And you would drive the other 25 miles and get the fuck out of there, right? All they had to do was say, it's 112 miles. And you'd go, fuck, I'm exhausted. I need to take a nap. And I can't just sit in the car because if they find the car, okay, I'm going to sleep here, blah, blah, blah. Right? And that would have fixed it. They just had to make it further. And so he tried in Misery to not make it so that there were any of those easy outs where the people go, why didn't this? Why? Yeah. Was it 15 miles? Yeah. Something like that. To Fairvale. Right. It was a pitifully small number. I lost my train of thought because with the cats and all this stuff. I'll remind me in a second. But there's this point where it just kind of falls apart. The argument, and it's like Mike Lindell's arguments are the opposite. They're so big, you're like, oh, fuck off. It's like you say, like, there's a bunch of bees flying around my car. And I had to run inside or whatever. And you're like, really? Yeah. Can I come inside? There's I'm allergic to bees and there's 6 of them flying around my car. And you'd go, oh yeah, sure. Come on in. Don't worry about it. Are you is there something we could do? I'll go get a hose or something like that. But if you run up and you go, there are trillions of bees crawling all over my car. I can feel them on my neck. You're like, stay in the fucking yard. I got to call the cops. Like at a certain point, you got to dial back your bullshit.
But I ask you to imagine a very different existence.
Well, you have to, because that's what you're selling. Glenn Beck sells panic for a living.
Because if you don't start seeing the writing on the wall, and
the shit smeared on the wall,
neighbors don't start seeing it.
Yeah, my fucking neighbors, man. Like I can scream, zombie apocalypse until I'm undead, but they're never going to spot it.
And we don't start peacefully standing up and saying, no more.
No more. No more what? No more what? Following the law, not storming the Capitol, not beating cops, not building a gallows on the fucking lawn, not dealing with losing an election like everybody else has.
No more. I'm not crossing this.
Yeah, by the way, just for the record, he is not talking about dessert. He's not. Someone is not leaning across the table and offering him Twizzlers or Little Debbie snack cakes.
I'm waiting for the GOP to give us a contract for America. I'm waiting for them to say,
yeah, that worked out really well last time. How much of that did they come through with? None. They ran on it. It worked, though.
Some of us in America still hold these truths to be self-evident.
Which truths would those be? And why are you gesturing like George W. Bush?
And, I can talk to you about all these different policies and the spending packages.
Can you, though? Can you, though, Glenn? Can you talk to me about all these spending packages? Because I'm going to guess you can't. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you can't speak about things like the debt ceiling and the what's in the infrastructure bill and where it's getting spent and who it will benefit, or any of the stuff that's in the human infrastructure bill that the Democrats want to pass alongside with it. I'm gonna guess that if you started going down the road of explaining any of the details of any of this shit, one of two things would happen. You would either get a brain cramp and pass out from your own ignorance, or you would say something that ruined your entire argument.
Anything else, but here's what's important.
Yeah, here's what's important. If you're going to if you're going to be in an indoor studio, wearing 2 t-shirts and then a shacket you bought on a road trip to Tucson, you're going to want that air conditioning turned up high.
The rights of the individual citizens. Mm-hmm. That is our first charge. That's why governments are instituted among men.
Which rights would those be? Like the rights to murder people because you don't like the cut of their jib? The right to build a gallows on the Capitol grounds? The right to bash your way through a window that's shut because you want to go through it? The right to keep a job when your employer says you have to be vaccinated when you have no good reason not to get vaccinated, and yet you're an irreplaceable worker? Apparently not.
Create rights, and certainly not to infringe or take them away.
Well, yeah, but there's obviously no rights are absolute, and there's obviously details in there. That's why, again, we have first, second, third degree murder, manslaughter, depraved indifference, wanton endangerment, shit like that, Why some people lose their license when they get a DUI, others just don't for some reason.
So I know that the most important thing over the economy, over everything else,
is dessert before dinner, because I heard it actually helps your metabolism. Sometimes I find that when I'm choking, more food helps. Jiminy Glick.
Is to protect those rights.
Yes, the right to not be killed by the person that you called on 911 who comes to your house that's an anti-vaxxer cop who decides that it's his freedom to enact policies that you pay for in your taxes while at the same time coughing Delta variant all over you.
You want to talk to me about things? You want to talk to me about,
You talking to me about things? You talking about me about things? You must be talking to me about things, because that's all I talk about are things. Because, it's way easier than details.
IRS now having access to every single person's banking account?
No, they don't. They just have the number of the bank accounts that if $600 or more goes through a bank account, no matter whatever its life cycle is, it's just noted that that's how much money went through there. So, not what you spent it on or why. They're bank accounts. Stick your money in your mattress, asshole.
And everything that they do over $600 is reported to the federal government?
No. Not everything they do, not even close. This is an enormous lie. The fact that $600 or more was in the account during the year. That's what's reported. If there's $2 in it, but there was more than $600 in the account at any given point, it goes like, check on this. Okay. There you go. That's it. That's all. Not what it was spent on, not where it went. Just that the account number has that on. Most of them they'll immediately write off. What anything over $600. Okay, if you have one that like you have a bunch of these accounts, we've noticed, and they're like sequential, and they did $600 and $600, and they come and go. They're like $10,000, and then $600, and then $5,000, and then you just close them, and they're all sequential. Somebody opened a bunch of these in a row. What the fuck's going on? Well, it's under $10,000, so you can't say or whatever. That's what that's about. Yawn.
Federal government can't do that to you. They can do it to
You're right, they can't. And they're not going to.
banks, but they can't do it to you. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Unreasonable search and seizure? How so? They're not searching or seizing anything. It's an unreasonable awareness.
You don't have the right to do that.
You tell them, Glenn. Tell them they can't do something they're not actually doing.
You think I'm doing something wrong. See, this is what they're saying. You know, these people aren't paying their fair share, and so we have to figure out how they're not doing it. Excuse me, I am paying my fair share. I'm paying.
Well, they found that they don't necessarily know that to be true. And maybe here's an example. Maybe people inside the banks or inside the banking industry or like hedge funds and shit like that are doing massive numbers of accounts. What they're doing is they're creating digitally creating these accounts with very little money in them to keep them below this like poverty line level rule that was existing before, which was probably $1,500. They lowered it to $600 to see if they could catch some of these assholes. And then if somebody has $500 in their account because they're a kid, they're not going to do anything about it. Again, it's not what you spend it on. It's the amount that exists in the account. It doesn't mean that they can't arrest you for having more than $600 in your account.
Every dime, every dollar that I am owed or that I owe to the federal government. I have a real problem paying it because of the waste, the gross mismanagement, and
well, enough about the Trump administration.
Things they're spending it on.
Like people, children, veterans, Medicare. Now they want to spend it on roads and bridges. Because to Glenn Beck, America is not a house he has a mortgage on. It's an apartment. And he's just trying to get his security deposit back before he fucks off to the Caymans.
But I am loyal to the social contract. But I'm not paying you a dime more.
No one's expecting you to.
And unless you have reason to believe, hard evidence, and you can bring that to an actual court, not a secret court, an actual court.
Yes, the secret $600 or more court. It's right below the it's 5 miles below the Earth's surface under the Dollar General Court.
And get a subpoena. And say, we need to see his banking records. We think then you can look at my banking records.
Well, that's what they would do.
But you're not looking at my banking records just because.
They're not looking at your banking records at all.
Trying to find something wrong. That's against the Constitution of the United States.
Yes, especially the stuff about Bitcoin in the Constitution is I mean, obviously it's on a Post-it note attached to the side of it, and you can barely read Jefferson's writing.
Period. They are changing things. They can't change them in Congress. They can't change them through the Senate. The Senate and the House are shadows of what they're supposed to be. They're nothing but rubber stamps. The people they're voting to please.
Yeah. It's the back and forth, the actual votes, laws being passed legally the way they're supposed to be. Yeah, it's not happening. It's a cabal. Trust me. It's lizard eating. Lizard faced. Lizard eating. They probably do eat lizard. They're lizard cannibals that live under the Pentagon and eat baby milkshakes and their fellow lizards occasionally if they're upset. Mostly it's stress eating.
The leadership of both sides get together and they're setting an agenda and they rubber stamp whatever the Congress is there and the Senate is there to basically rubber stamp whatever the parties say they want.
Yeah, that's totally what's actually happening right now. What? Where are you broadcasting from China? Is this what I'm going to find out? Are you just talking about the CCP? What are you what? Is this because they raised the debt ceiling? Oh my God.
There's no real debate on these things anymore.
Do you ever watch? That's just because you don't watch C-SPAN. Glenn doesn't have time to actually research what he's talking about. You kidding me? He's got cross-country sand skiing lessons in New Mexico. What does Glenn Beck do for a living? Obviously, he runs a spaceport on planet Chapo.
Because Congress has given up their power. Because they don't want to be held accountable.
No, they don't. No.
And so they gave all of their power to the different agencies.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the people who actually run the shit? So they have the control of the purse of it, whatever, and they allocate the funds, and then they have oversight committees to make sure the money's being spent. But in general, I say, you go. They just give the money. Jesus Christ.
And that's how America is being transformed
into a country with a functioning democracy.
Through faceless bureaucrats that you didn't elect. You don't even know their name. You can't do anything about it.
Well, sure you can. You elect officials, and they appoint those people, and so elections have consequences, and you need to include in your thoughts about who you're voting for the kind of people that they would actually. Do you smell burnt toast?
They have power.
He wants to be oppressed so bad. That is absolutely Glenn Beck's kink. Like this is where we find out that Glenn Beck is a closet sub. And this is a cry for help. He's just desperately wanting someone to, tie him up and wrap him in leather and spank his crank. No kink shaming.
How do they have power? Well, it comes from the president. Well, but that's not even constitutional. Doesn't matter. It comes from the president.
Yeah, that's what they say. That conversation happened.
We will not survive. And what?
Well, excuse me. I mean, I get it, Glenn. First, I was afraid. I was petrified. Just thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong. And I learned how to get along. Now you're back from outer space. Just walked in that stupid jacket with a dumb look upon your face. I should have changed that space lock. I should have made you leave me be. I will survive. Hey, hey.
Hey, I want to read some things.
Okay, don't hurt yourself.
From
It doesn't matter. Does it really matter where it's from? It's probably, let me guess. It's either a news source that totally and unequivocally supports everything you say in some lunatic way, or, and I think this might be the strong, and this is a guess, so we'll see. We'll roll the dice on this one. Or it's a legit news source, New York Times, Washington Post, AP, Reuters, something like that, CNN, whatever, that supports your argument, but you previously called them fake news. Something like that?
A courtroom.
Oh, a court transcript. Okay.
This is on the January 6th riot.
Okay. Totally related to the $600 IRS rule the Treasury has put forward. Okay. This is from the January 6th thing. It's the court. It's the ultimate court of January 6-iness.
Court sentenced 2 Ohio men to serve 45 days in
Oh,
jail.
no. That's not from a court thing. What the fuck did you just say? I thought you were going to read a transcript from a trial or an indictment.
Some things from a courtroom.
So I'm going to read some things? Shit. I'm going to read some things from a courtroom. Would somebody leave a magazine on the seat? The fuck are you talking about? It's from a newspaper or something, clearly. All right, let's see what it says.
This is on the January 6th riot. Court sentenced 2 Ohio men to serve 45 days in jail after U.S. prosecutors for the first time requested incarceration at sentencing hearings for nonviolent misdemeanor offenders.
Yeah, they didn't actually participate in the violence, but they would have, or they did other shit. They broke things, they stole shit, they got so far inside that they were part of the mob that would have done damage. They got onto the floor of the Congress, shit like that. They only didn't kill Mike Pence because he'd already been removed. So, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Fuck them, I think is the, yeah.
Misdemeanor
is
a small deal.
It's a small deal. Is it? One second. That's why they're getting 45 days, by the way. Let's see. What's a good one? Misdemeanor. Here's a misdemeanor. Let me just show you, if I may. Glenn, it's a small deal, but I'm just going to bring up a misdemeanor. Huh? Something that maybe, as a fan of Donald Trump, you'll remind us is a small deal. Misdemeanor sexual battery is the intentional touching of the breasts or buttocks of the victim by the offender using any instrumentality or any part of the body of the offender, directly or through clothing, or the intentional touching of the breasts or buttocks of the offender by the victim using any instrumentality or any part of the body of the victim, directly or through clothing, when the offender acts without the consent of the victim. Whoever commits the crime of misdemeanor sexual battery shall be fined no more than $1,000 or be imprisoned for not more than 6 months. That's shorter than 45 days. 45 days shorter than that. It's a little longer, 6 months. There you go. You can get 6 months for that. These guys got 45 days for a misdemeanor. Now, I don't know what the standard is regularly, Glenn, as someone who's not a defender of Donald Trump's. But this particular one comes up quite often when discussing the behavior that Trump has shown towards women in the past, for example. And it's a misdemeanor. It's a little deal. It's a little deal. Come on. It's a little deal. It's little. It's a little deal. So I'm sure that if Trump ever gets sentenced at any point to 3 or 4, pleads down to 2 counts of misdemeanor sexual battery and goes to jail for concurrent max sentences, so he's in jail for a year, you'll be here to remind us in the shirt your mom bought for you that it's just a little deal. It's just a little deal. Just a little deal.
You got a felony? Okay. Misdemeanor?
Yeah, nobody's getting 45 days for a felony, fucko. That's why we have misdemeanors. Misdemeanors come with less than 60 days quite often. You're getting 45 days. Probably, what are we going to guess? Whatever, I don't know what they're being charged with because he's not telling because, I don't know, it came from a courtroom. But what do you think? It's got a 90-day max, so they got half? That's why they got 45 days? What'd they say, Glenn? In the videos used in the trial and that were shown at sentencing that made the difference between them being able to walk or pay a fine, why are they going to jail for 45 fucking days? What did they say? Are we talking that in the realm of making terroristic threats and they pled down to a misdemeanor and the judge allowed it?
Now they want to send you to jail.
No, they don't. They do not want to send me to jail. Because I didn't build a gallows on the Capitol grounds or try to kill a cop or 2 or 5 or bash in a fucking window and smear shit on the walls of the Congress.
It comes after federal judges for months have questioned whether no prison plea deals offered by the government to low-level January 6 defendants are too lenient.
Right, because a lot of these people have video of them saying, we came here to shoot Nancy Pelosi in her friggin' brain.
To deter future attackers...
The bail for jaywalking is $300,000. It is by no means $300,000. Where? In Dubai?
Terrorizing members of Congress. I want you to know everything this...
I want you to know. Tell us, Glenn. Terrorizing members of Congress is the job of every American citizen.
Government is doing is communication to you, and you.
Is it? So they're making examples of people so that people don't. They're basically saying, "Hey, don't you guys try to build a gallows and hang the vice president ever again. I mean it."
Communicating back to them through your actions. Right now, they are telling you, don't you dare stand up.
Well, no, they're saying, don't you dare stampede into the Capitol, injuring like a cop's spine while you're helping a crowd do the heave-ho at the front door.
Don't you dare stand up.
What? I know that. I'm waiting just to see what happens. Yeah, still nothing. I don't know what it is. The jaywalking fee is a mistake. Maybe $300. Not. Yeah, I'm going to guess $300. Yeah. Glenn's coming for me. I knew it. It's okay. He won't be able to find me. I'm not dressed like a Lego Aztec playset.
Now, this is January 6th is a different thing. They shouldn't have broken in. They shouldn't have done.
Yeah, but they also shouldn't face any jail time or any fines or actually face any consequence at all. I mean, they're patriots, right, Glenn? I mean, sure, they stomped on a woman's body while she was dying of, I think the final call was an overdose in their own crowd.
That was horrible. It was a stupid move.
Yeah, it was just, guys, it was a stupid move to injure or wound 140 police officers to try and reinstall Donald Trump after an election he lost. It was stupid. I mean, I promise. Look, officer, I was in a bit of a hurry. I don't normally check my phone.
Just ethically, and it was a stupid move strategically.
Yeah, strategically. You didn't bring up morally? You're not going to bring that up, Glenn? No?
Just dumb.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you shouldn't have injured that cop's spine. That was strategically and ethically a mistake, and it was just dumb. Yes, because you're going to fucking jail.
But we don't create new punishments.
They didn't create new punishments. The fuck are you talking about?
We want to send a message. That's not what we do.
Hold on one second. Max sentence for trespassing. Let's just see in general. Should we pick up? I think, there you go. It's a misdemeanor. There's a Nevada trespassing laws. Under NRS 207.200, Nevada law defines trespassing as entering someone else's property without permission or remaining on their property after being instructed to leave. We love you. Now go home. Trespassing is a misdemeanor offense. It's a misdemeanor. It's a little thing. It's a misdemeanor. Offense that, carries a penalty of up to 6 months in jail. Now, clearly, this is trespassing with an intent to commit forcible sodomy with a chainsaw. Obviously, you got to be caught red-handed on video. Defenses. 4 defense strategies to Nevada trespass charges include demonstrating that the defendant had the right to be there. And the defendant had the consent of the landowner to be there. And the landowner did not give sufficient notice via signage and fences to stay off the property. I think a line of cops fucks that defense. The defendant was exercising First Amendment rights. And no. That's the fire in a crowded theater. What would be the, let's see. Freedom of religion, speech, assembly, and petition. Free exercise clause, free speech, press, assembly, and petition. That's where that was probably fall under here. Thanks. Sorry, I made you spit on. Peaceably assemble. That's what they're trying to run. Well, that fucked that whole thing, right? The peaceably assemble part. When you beat the cops to get where you're going, it doesn't quite work. Well, shit. You can get 6 months for trespassing alone, fucko. 6 months. They got 45 days.
That's not justice.
Yes, it is. Well, actually, I take it back. It isn't justice. They should have gotten all fucking 6 months. Because even though they got in there, they may not have been the ones that trampled the cops or beat them or any of that stuff. They benefited from the beating and trampling of cops to get in there. Had the horde in front of them not made it possible for them to get in there, they wouldn't have gotten in. They would have had to participate in the beatings. So they were party to the attacks on police officers that made it possible for them to trespass. So again, fuck you. Nonsense. They should have gotten 6 months. That's not justice. 45 days is not justice. I agree. Let's revisit it. Throw them under the fucking jail.
They're sending you a message wherever you are. And it's
yeah. Don't build a gallows on the Capitol grounds and scream, hang Mike Pence, while you bash in windows and threaten on Instagram to shoot Nancy Pelosi in the friggin' brain. Just in general.
In our communities with the unions, the teachers' unions, and the school boards.
Yes, teach your children well to not storm the Capitol and turn our nation into hell.
Down and shut up, or we will make it miserable. If your kid...
Sit down and shut up. Dude, how is that sit down and shut up? There have been protests and all kinds of shit all over this country. The only people who get arrested are the people who break things or actively choose destruction or looting, using it as a, as for their own benefit. Vandalism is a 1 to 5 years and you get up to $10,000 fine. Exactly. And these are incorporated. They're trespassing and vandalizing.
Please don't say anything. It's going to make it miserable for me.
How do you get two fuckers from January 6th getting 45 days when, hundreds of cases have been summarily dismissed or let go because they weren't involved in this stuff, but they have video evidence of some of these assholes doing this stuff, so they got some days. Or they acted in court like complete psychopaths and got bigger sentences than they would have initially gotten. And if Glenn had an ounce of integrity, which if we know he doesn't because he stood in, presumably there's a mirror in the studio area, you wouldn't wear that shirt and then continue to work. Unless, of course, you were I caught myself. He is a rodeo clown. That makes sense. I didn't realize it. This is standard uniform.
You must stand up. You must do it.
Do what? Storm the Capitol and kill Mike Pence? What the fuck are you talking about?
Because if they're afraid that they are going to be bullied by teachers or by the school,
what?
Because you say something now, what do you think it's going to be like if you let it ride?
Okay, I don't even know what those sentences meant. And honest to God, I don't think he knows either. I think we're in a moment where Glenn is going, think anybody noticed I just said nothing?
They are sending you a message. You are powerless.
No, they're not. They're sending you a message. Don't commit active crimes against your fellow citizens or the government. Don't beat cops. Don't shit and smear it on the walls of the Capitol. Don't threaten police officers, members of Congress. Don't interrupt the counting of the electoral votes. That's the message.
Sending you a message. Sit down.
They're sending you a message. Obey the law that you want so that you can have a functioning society.
How many of us are willing to go like we did in Washington, D.C. on August 28th, 2010?
Yeah, nobody remembers.
How many of us are willing to go do that? How many of us would be willing to go and march on 9/11 or what was it, 9/12?
Yeah, it. Never forget, except the date.
The tax tea party. How many of us would do it?
Lots of people do that shit. Hundreds. Who cares? Are you saying that January 6th is the second time people stormed the fucking Capitol and threatened to murder the vice president and had the means to do it?
A lot would not, because they would be afraid it would be infiltrated, or they would be...
Yeah, that's the other thing. The FBI is going to infiltrate our movement, and they're going to tell me, come on, guys, it's okay. Let's go bludgeon a couple of cops, to let them know we mean business. I don't think that's ethical or moral. I'm here to talk about taxation. I'm not going to beat up a cop. Come on. Yeah, if you really mean it, how much do you care about the marginal tax rate? If it goes from 32.7 to 36.7, that's a 4% difference. You're not willing. You've got a thin blue line flag. Just hit him with it. Go ahead. All right. This is the other this ranks up there with Bongino's idea that there's a secret plot to make sure Republicans don't take the vaccine by insisting they take the vaccine, and then they'll stomp their feet and go, "No, I'm not doing it. You're not my real dad." This is the same argument that they wouldn't have stormed the Capitol, but they were infiltrated. The FBI made them do it.
That they're going to get stomped. They're going to be put on a list.
Stomped, put on a list. I've seen them. Are we talking like grocery or Schindler's? it's kind of important. Inquiring minds want to know. Glenn, I'm regretting giving Dan Bongino the 5 eggs to some degree, because this has been a day of stupidity on the right like we have not seen in months. And I'm about to tell you why that's good news. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end our show tonight with a happy thought. A reminder that all of the clips that you've seen tonight, and many of the ones that I didn't even have time to show, all have one thing in common. And that is, tonight, have you watched Dan Bongino be more confused than any human being in history by numbers he himself thought made his argument for him? Sure. Have you seen Don Jr. try to win the air quote Olympics while reading notes given to him by the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers, poorly, I might add? Yes, you have. Have you seen Glenn Beck jibber jabber nonsensically about something Constitution, laws, and sit down and their obedience and China and something? Yes, you have. But what have you really seen overall? What you've seen overall over the course of this show is the death of right-wing talking points. You are literally watching them die because they can't argue about the debt ceiling when they know the Republicans just signed off on it. They can't fight back against the infrastructure bill when they know it's 68% popular even amongst Republicans. They can't complain about Afghanistan in any meaningful way. That's starting to fall apart because we're out. We're gone. I mean, even Don Jr. called it a forever war when it's over. And so feel a little bit of joy tonight, knowing that you just saw 3 people desperately scrambling for something to complain about and failing miserably. Thanks to the chat room, by the way. Paige, thank you for the super chat. Mark, thank you for resubscribing using Prime. Sparks Force Forever, thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Yepim, for 911 for following. There we go. I'm going to scroll down through some of these so I can see them. Thank you, Carolina, for following. Thanks, Moms and Professor Funbags and Grant Boy 1888 for the bits. Thank you, guys. Thanks again, Moms. Thank you, that vegan on Shea Mountain, for subscribing. We get adding subscribers all the time. It's a lovely, lovely thing. 25,000. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you, Dead Sea Genesis, for the bits and the subscription. Thank you, Deanne. I hope you guys set up a GoFundMe for whom I fired my pre-K teaching gig for accidentally singing Little Bunny Fuck You. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get everybody busted for that. This is going to be Little Bunny Fuck You from now on. We have created something tonight. He's over here doing Little Bunny Fuck You, and I'm trying to have a conversation, right? That's going to be shorthand forever. You're welcome. That's our what we would call a street level Sparksism. I've been working on I'm working on a book of Sparksisms, by the way. I have been working on it. Wait, hold on. Wait 1 second. I'll be right back because I don't even need the thing or whatever. Here, talk amongst yourselves. Hold on, I'm going to grab something. So I decided to start making a notebook of Sparksisms so that later this year I could publish a book, like a small, flip book of Sparksisms. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And then I'll work on a full manifesto. But I was thinking about calling it the Sparksist Megafesto. I know, it's a little on the nose, but it's funny. And I started writing it in something I bought myself a while back, because you guys know what a big Captain America fan I am or whatever. But I saw this. I think I got it on Etsy, but it's been so long I've had it. But I uncracked, and you guys know I love me some hardbound blank books. And so I got this guy, and I thought it was perfect. This is the Winter Soldier's Journal, which apparently is a whole book with fucking 8 words in it or whatever. So I was like, this is perfect to start writing down some of my Sparksist megafestos in, you know. And it's a Covfefe table book. Yeah, absolutely. And at one of the let's see, what's the one that I could read? Yeah, like this is an example, just one. I'll just do one. Carl Sparks, right? Just because a problem is someone's responsibility, it does not mean it's their fault, and that's something to remember whenever you're dealing with customer service or a waiter or even a manager of something. When it's an Auntie Karen quote, that kind of idea. Just because it's someone's responsibility doesn't mean it's their fault. Yes, they may be in charge of fixing it, but they didn't break the fucking thing, did they? Right. So that's the kind of thing, you know, just a good reminder. So I'm just writing down little Sparksisms. So the Sparksists have this, but I think it's probably going to be a book about this size, and I'm just going to fill it up with those kind of things and with some nice printing, and then I think I should probably put some like big flowing hair pictures of me, that look like Maoist and Russian propaganda pictures, you know, like holding a flag or some shit, just for fun. I think this will work. So I started writing these down because we had that idea about a week ago, and I'll try and have it done by Christmas, and then have one of those like self-publishing things where you can order them. That's my goal. So if I can get it done by Thanksgiving, then it can be printed and put out by then or whatever. So I will. I'm working on that. It's nice because I get to do a bit of. It won't be a hammer and a sickle because I'm not a communist at all, or even a socialist. So it will be. You know, I'll make a little symbol on it. I just like the color of this thing. It just looks gorgeous. So it'll be something along those lines. Totally like wink and a nod to the Winter Soldiers thing, but it'll be a small one you can carry around with you, that kind of thing. But it'd be, you know, it's just like something I think would be fun. I've always been a big fan of like those books where you can flip to it and it's got a little saying in it or a quote. And I'll just make a big, you know, list of my quotes or whatever that's just, you know, something to think on, something that morally, ethically, socially, I think are good things to think about in how you interact with the rest of the world. Like, be kind. If you can't be kind, be nice. If you can't be nice, at least be funny. That's another Sparksism. It's an I Ching abridged. So yeah, like those, yes, chicken soup for the soul. It's more like a daily inspirations kind of thing. It's totally the Libra in me. Good read while you're on the can. That's what I'm hoping. I hope my book is the #1 manifesto read on the toilet. That's the goal. So that's what we'll do. So, all right, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Can we order the tour book? Yes, I hope so. I got to work that part of it out. I got to finish it first. So give me some time. I don't think Sniglets was by Al Franken. That was Rick Hall. Rick Hall. Rich Hall? There's 2 of them. Hold on. Sniglets was, I'm not mistaken. Rich Hall. I want to say it was my favorite one when I was a kid of Sniglets was Krelm, which is the hardened stuff that appears at the top of a ketchup bottle just under the lid when you use it. The dried ketchup. It's called, I think that was the name for it. Hold on. Here, we'll just take a look on our way out the door. Just a friendly little thing. Here's some original Sniglets. And this is Rich Hall, by the way. Coined by Rich Hall. Fleur, a photograph that features the camera operator's finger in the corner. Lot shock, the act of parking your car, walking away, and then watching it roll past you. Crogling, the nibbling of small items of fruit and produce at the supermarket, which the customer considers free sampling and the owner considers shoplifting. Croggling. Must go. Any item of food that's been sitting in the refrigerator so long it has become a science project. Profanotype. Yeah. So sniglets. Those are sniglets. Magna Carta, right. So, all right. I take care of yourselves, guys. And I will see you tomorrow at the regular time, of course, 3 o'clock on a Friday. And morning show tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. The Hal Sparks Morning Show Mega Worldwide. Hal Sparks Morning with Mega Worldwide. Yeah, that's what we're going with. And then, of course, so I get to work twice, like 2 mornings in a row, tomorrow and Saturday for the radio show. Also, a week from next Tuesday, Nerd Halen at, let's see if I can find the... you know what? CSL's probably already put the link in there, so I'll just leave it at that. I will be posting. We've gotten more gig offers, so I'm starting to get fuzzy brain on what night and when. So be well, take care of yourself, take care of somebody else, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. I'm really leaving this time. Midwestern goodbye.
Nation's Beck